My 40 female, husband 45 male of 20 years says he no longer wants sex. How do I tell him that I can't live without it? So we haven't had sex properly for a few years. I've wanked him and blown him a few times, and he's fingered me to orgasm a few times, but that's it. He's been to the doctors, and his testosterone levels are good. We've been to couples therapy, singles therapy, and sex therapy, but nothing has worked. He just says that he's never in the mood for sex and can't be bothered. He only works part-time, which was his choice, and I work full-time. We have no problems or any other problems, so there's nothing that I know of that is ruining his sex drive. About a week ago, he came to me and said he would appreciate it if we didn't talk about sex anymore. He doesn't need or want it, and he's not interested in it at all anymore. I've tried to talk to him to ask if it's me in the past, and he said no, he just doesn't feel the need for it. The thing is, though, that I do. I'm desperate for it. I don't want to cheat and I don't want to lose him, but I can't go forever without it. I need to ask him if I can have sex outside the marriage, but I don't know how. In the comments, OK Willow says, "Have you told him that you don't want to go without sex for the foreseeable future? What scenarios would you be comfortable with for getting your needs met? What would he be comfortable with? Have the discussion. The two of you will either find consensus or decide to separate amicably." And OP says, "I've told him that I can't go without it. I like it and I need it. He just said, then you need to learn how to go without." Let me ask you a question first, or maybe questions. Is lack of sex truly your only issue? You mentioned how he's working part-time by his choice. Is he contributing his half of the work to the relationship? Did all of your therapy not turn up anything but no sex? If you got permission to go out to a bar and have one-night stands to have sex, and then immediately come home, would that solve everything? Or would you be wanting affection and romance with your sex? So you still have enough love for your husband that if someone is offering you sex and the possibility of love, you would still choose him and walk away from the sex. OP says, he doesn't like the people that he works with, so being part-time helped relieve his stress. We split the housework. He's loving in other ways, and we still cuddle up and watch TV, etc., but he just has no interest in sex. It sounds stupid, as I can get myself off, but I just want to feel a man's body against mine and inside me. Self-love is not enough. Love as Thou Wilt replies, "It doesn't sound stupid at all. Sex is a very important thing to a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with that." That is absolutely correct. There is nothing wrong with wanting sex, especially if you have been married for 20 years, though I understand after such an amount of time, people's needs change, people's brains change, their desires change. You know, you're not the same person you were 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It could be any number of possibilities as to why he no longer wants sex, and given the trend of Reddit and these stories, the more common one is that they're cheating, either emotionally or physically, or both. But at the same time, you know, what else is there if his testosterone levels are fine, you've been through all of this therapy? If he has just gone asexual all of a sudden, that's valid, but if you can't live without it and he's not going to change and there's no compromise, you don't really have much choice but to leave, really, do you? Because realistically, you're not going to stay in the relationship without sex. If it's as important to you as you say it is, then it sounds like it is a hill for you to die on. And now, onto the update. Thank you everyone for your support and messages. It means a lot. Well, it's 6 AM here, and we spent 4 hours talking about it last night until he stormed off to stay at his friend's house. That's how well the talk went. Just to clear a few things up from my original post, all his levels were above average for his age when tested, and the doctors concluded that there is no medical reason for his lack of libido. In bed every night, he sleeps naked next to me, and I can see and feel he is physically able to get hard. People asked me if he was depressed, and I don't think he is, but you never truly know what's happening in someone's head. He said that his last job was stressing him out, so we agreed that he would just work part-time. On that subject, A few people have said that I'm only with him for his money. Well, I earn £70,000 a year, and he earns between £10,000 to £15,000 a year, so no, I'm not. People asked if I had gotten fat. My weight has never been more than £5 difference, up or down, than the day that we met, and I'm currently 9 stone 6, 132 pounds to my American friends, at 5'7" tall. I've got big boobs, so they've gotten a bit saggier, but I can't help that. I was asked about frequency. At first we had sex a lot, then within 5 years it was down to once a month, and now the last time we had full sex was 4 years ago. Last time he fingered me was 2 years ago, and I gave him head 3 months ago. People asked if he was cheating, gay, or watched porn. I've searched his phone and never seen anything to suggest that. He's not secretive with his phone at all. Over the years, I've told him if he wants to explore his sexuality or other people, he can. I've offered him threesomes. I've told him that I'll do anything sexual he wants. Nothing is off limits. He wasn't interested. So last night, I sat him down and told him, I know you don't like talking about this, and I respect the fact that you don't want sex anymore, but I do. So either open up the relationship so I can get my sex somewhere else, or I'm leaving. That brought on hours of ranting and raving. I'm a sex addict, I'm a slag, I don't love him, I've got no respect for myself, etc., etc. I stayed calm and said, you either need to tell me why you don't want to have sex with me, let me have sex outside the marriage, or we'll split up, as we aren't compatible. Are you asexual, gay, depressed, just don't find me attractive? He said that it's none of those things. He just doesn't enjoy sex. It's boring, and he's got no interest in pleasing other people either. He'd rather just wank. When I asked him why we had sex so much at the start, he said that it was just to shut me up. I said, you've slept with over 50 people, but you don't like sex? He said he did it because of everyone else, and he was trying to find if there was a reason that everyone enjoyed it, but he realized that he just didn't. I wasn't sure I believed him, so I said, fine, if that's true, then I'll never bother you for sex again. But can I please have sex with other people? You can even choose them if it makes you more comfortable. You can be in control of all of it, just pick someone for me a couple of times a month. You can even watch if you want, or we can keep it completely separate and you'll never know anything. I won't tell you when I'm having sex or who with. I don't mind what the arrangement is, as long as I can have sex. He just said, no effing way, and stormed out the door to his friend's house. So that's where we are. He's obviously told his friends, as I've had messages from some of them saying that I'm a slag and a cheater. I messaged my husband just now after he didn't answer the phone, even though he's awake, and said, you leaving and getting your friends to gang up on me tells me everything I need to know. I'll let you decide whether you want to stay in the house or not, but if you choose to stay, I will only be paying for my half of the mortgage until it's sold, and then you're on your own. I don't care what you tell people, I have all of the proof of our problems over text message, as you are a coward, and that's how you communicate. Goodbye, Daryl. It's heartbreaking, but I can't carry on feeling disrespected, and the fact that he has his friends insulting me and harassing me is too much. It feels like he's one step away from a Peaky Blinders post on social media about how silent and strong he is. So that's where I am. No answers on the sex problem, and there's no way I'm staying with him after the name-calling, storming out, and harassment by his friends. I don't know what more I could have done for this man. In the comments, Sipsy says, so, he's asexual? At least in the sense that he doesn't like sex, but still wanks. Anyways, he's not understanding you, nor trying to address your needs, so that's probably it for the relationship. Elastigirl Was Better says, my thoughts exactly. Sounds like he's somewhere on the asexual spectrum. There are many asexual people who have sex for a variety of reasons, and many asexual people who don't like sex because they are not sexually attracted to anyone and rather get rid of arousal through masturbation. He's also a childish asshole who refuses to communicate and rather puts his wife down than have an honest conversation. I have a lot of love for the asexual community, but every group has bad eggs, and here is one. OP's tried everything and been nothing but supportive and understanding. I'm glad she's leaving and takes care of her own needs. She deserves it. And OP says, I still have a sneaking suspicion he's gay rather than asexual. Sufficient Oil replies, perhaps he found the gaycation of He found the gaycation! Hell yeah! What happens on gaycation stays on gaycation. Hoorah! On a serious note though, get the divorce and move on. His reasons don't really matter. You deserve a partner who is compatible with you, and he is not it. Plenty of other fish in the sea. Best wishes. Glassgirl says, it's rather shocking that he's comfortable enough to share this with all his friends and that they're taking his side to the point of harassment. Makes you wonder if he mentioned her asking to open the marriage without sharing the little tidbit about him not wanting to have sex. Oh, he definitely twisted the story to be like, my wife told me either let me open the marriage or I'm divorcing you. So yeah, if you hear that in isolation, then I get why someone would be upset, but now I would never understand why someone would text the person. Offer support to your friend, but don't go harass others. Flixteria says, at this stage, I don't care how Daryl identifies. He can't communicate with his wife, he's bad-mouthing her to friends so much that they're verbally abusing her. Whatever his issue is, it's gone past the point of garnering any sympathy, and I hope that OP finds someone to satisfy her very, very soon. Yeah, you don't just go talk shit about your wife and change the story so much like that. I wonder if he would even tell them that, oh yeah, we haven't had sex in, how many years has it been now? I forget the last time we've had sex. And I've been more than happy with that. But anyway, she wants to have sex with someone else, and that ain't cool. When you present the story like that, isn't it crazy that the first thing coming to your mind isn't, wow, what a cheating, disgusting wife. Who does she think she is? You must be giving her so much sex that why would she want it from someone else? I don't understand these people, but the most logical explanation is that what's happening on gaycation is staying on gaycation, and maybe this husband can go be a third for those two in Ibiza. I'm definitely going to need an update about how much fun they're all having in Ibiza after this. Because the fact that OP says, I really don't think he's asexual, that kind of tells me all I need to know. Regardless, thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I very much appreciate it. Am I the asshole for cutting off my sister and telling her she is no longer welcome in my house after threatening to sue me? So I, 26 female, have a sister, 31 female, let's call her Jane. Jane is not my bio sister, but we grew up in the same household. For as long as I can remember, Jane has had this victim mentality. Mum died when she was young, Dad was never in the picture, but my mum and her aunt/godmother took her in. She lived with us for 13 years before she got married and moved to Idaho with her husband. We never had the best relationship growing up, but I assumed that it was just sibling rivalry and we would grow out of it like me and my baby sister, 25 female. My mum passed away in 2020, and Jane thought that it was only right that she inherit my mum's engagement ring, even after declaring at the funeral that my mum was not her mum, just a woman who helped raise her. That is so cold, oh my god. I then moved back into my parents' home because I felt bad for my dad and didn't want him to be alone. After converting the top floor of our 3-story home into a mini apartment for myself, Jane raised concerns that there would be no space for her to come home during Christmases, but we made do. My dad recently paid off the home, and I signed the deed over to me under the condition that he lived there rent-free until he dies, since I had been helping him pay the mortgage and would continue to pay the taxes on the home. I dismantled the apartment on the 3rd floor, making it once again a 5-bedroom home. However, 2 of the bedrooms that my sister used to occupy are now a walk-in closet and a room for my dogs. I added a pool, a new bathroom, renovated the kitchen, and turned the basement into a bar lounge area. Once this was completed, Jane asked me how we would split the sale of the home. I was confused as to what she meant. I was not selling my home. She stated that since my dad paid it off, that when he died, that the house would go to all of us, and we should just get ahead and sell the property now. Excuse me? I told her that I was not selling, and that my dad signed it over to me. She then said that she would call someone to appraise the home, and I would then have to buy her out and my little sister out. When I told her again that I owned the home, I was not selling, and she wasn't getting any money, she threatened to sue me. I told her to leave. A few weeks later, she called my dad to ask what the plans were for Christmas and if I was going to be staying in a hotel since I could not be cordial. The audacity. My dad told her that I would not be staying in a hotel, but she was still welcome to come and stay with us. I politely informed him that she nor her family were welcome to stay, and if he needed to stay with her over the holidays, he could also stay in a hotel. Now she's called my whole family and gone on a campaign of how evil I am for doing this over the holidays. Most of my family agrees with her, except a few who don't want to be involved, saying that she only said that she would sue me out of anger after realizing something else was taken from her. Her mum, her dad, my mum, now her childhood home. Which leads me to believe that maybe they are right. Am I being too harsh on her after all her struggles in life? Or is she simply just a bitch? Edit. Little sister is fine. Please stop worrying about her. She's not a problem. Hence why I didn't list everything she got from our mum or our dad. Update. I suggested that my dad stay in a hotel with Jane because he was insistent that she spend Christmas with him. I didn't say he couldn't live with me anymore. I don't think it's unreasonable to not want to be around someone who wanted to sue and may still try. I also got the engagement ring. I thought it was crazy that someone declared, "That's not my mum," but wanted her ring that my dad bought. Also, little sis got the wedding bands. Dad also gave Jane significant amounts of money to open her own bakery. Little sister took over his business. I got the home and the retirement, and life insurance will be split in 3 when or if he passes, cause he can't die, to be honest. In the comments, Broomrider31 says, "Not the arsehole. It was very kind of your parents to give her a home as a child, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she is entitled to inherit. Besides, your dad has already signed over the house to you, as it is mutually beneficial to you both. That means it's your house, period, but the part that really gets me is that she wants to go ahead and get it over with? That is an appalling mindset. Does she care about your dad and his wishes? Where does she expect him to live? To me, that just demonstrates that she just cares about herself and is trying for a money grab. Stand your ground." Presumably, she already inherited from both her bio parents, so why would she expect a share from her guardians as well? Let alone while one is still alive and living in the home that she wants to sell out from under him. She literally intended to turf dad out of his own home so that she could profit after he lost his wife. She's a ghoul. OP replies, "She did not inherit anything from her parents. My dad's side of the family has the money. It's my mum's side that she is from." Please kindly remind these folks that she is insisting that you sell the family home where she grew up so that she can get money. I guarantee you that the family got a completely different story. Oh, and not the asshole. Yeah, especially with that mini update that OP gave, where she already got quite a big chunk of money. She already got a lot from this family. This family being her family, yes too, but not in the way that she thinks. It's the same sentiment as dating a mum with a child, and her wanting you to take fatherly responsibility for the child, but also being like, "Hey, you can't make any decisions for this kid. That's not your kid. Screw you." Oh yeah, I want this woman's wedding ring that I say is my mum, but I will declare that she is not my mum. But also my quote-unquote dad is going to give me significant amounts of money to open my own bakery. And then I think that also entitles me to forcing him to sell the house that he's in right now. I'm delusional, yeah. I'm Jane. I got bugs in my brain. I'm hating everything about Jane right now. And the fact that she's threatening to sue is just disgusting. It's going to waste everyone's time. It's going to waste everyone's money just because Jane is a money-hungry leech that is ungrateful for everything she has been given in life. She's gotten everything and she still wants more. She's part of what is wrong with this world. Definitely not the arsehole OP. I don't know what the answer is, but if you have to go to court, I guess you have to go to court. And now, onto the update, 1 month later. The family wedding was over the weekend and everything there was great. No drama, I kept my distance from Jane. The bride was not outstaged at all. Well, not by me and the drama at least. However, Sunday after the wedding, my aunt Renee called me to ask if I would be coming to dinner to celebrate Christmas early since Jane was in town and would not be coming for the actual holiday. I politely declined, said that I would send the children's gift with my dad, but that there was no need to go and pretend that I was over Jane's behavior. My aunt then said I would be too upset if you refused to give me my share, but gave little sister her share. That really shows a divide. I asked her to say that again because I think I hallucinated. Jane has really been out here saying that I split the house with my little sister when I did not. I explained to my aunt what actually happened, and then my dad confirmed the information that I gave. My aunt was shocked. Not only had Jane lied to her and the whole family, she also lied and said my dad never gave her anything. Oh my god, I'm so shocked that Jane would lie. What? He gave me the house, my little sister his business, and Jane a lump sum of money to start her bakery since she had no interest in running the family business. Jane is currently staying with Aunt Renee, but Renee is now upset and feels duped into this whole mess. Renee and my dad are both upset with Jane, but still believe that I should forgive and forget and move forward. Renee is going to talk to Jane tomorrow before she leaves to go back to Idaho, but I'm not sure that it will do anything. Not a great/entertaining update, but I guess I felt compelled to finish the story. At this point, I don't care if I'm the asshole. I was surprised by the amount of comments saying that I was, but I don't need any more stress from these people. In the comments, Hell and Damnation says, I'm always amused by people who say forgive and forget. I can guarantee that no one ever forgets. You're not the asshole. Why should anyone forgive and forget when there is no apology or remorse? It always gets to me how long people take to correct the record in these stories. It's always stories where one person is obviously so wrong, and the OP never bats an eye that somehow countless people are on their side while having all the facts. Does anybody talk to each other? What the actual hell? How do these people just accept this? How do they not immediately ask, what did they tell you, when people seem to support insanity? I think it's some misunderstanding of what rising above and not starting a fight means. Or maybe I'm the one misunderstanding. I don't know. If rising above means letting people tell lies about me and tell me what I should do, while never asking why or correcting them, I will stay below. You can be polite and still stand up for yourself. I don't know why so many people seem to think polite equals doormat. My headcanon theory is that a lot of people never really had to face true adversity like this before, and that it's genuinely something new to them. I know I'm naive. I know I'm ignorant. Absolutely, I accept that. I am biased. But I genuinely think a lot of these people that don't interact with, I guess, relationship advice content, they are just ignorant of how scheming and conniving people can be. And I think they give them the benefit of the doubt, or they're that subsect of people that think, oh, but, I know it happens, but it won't happen to me. And then when it does happen to them, they're like, holy shit, how could someone do that? That is so evil. Like OP here, not getting ahead of the narrative, and not even asking the auntie what happened, what was she told. I feel like it's just something that's going to keep repeating in situations like this, and it's so simple to kind of get ahead of this. But I guess we see stories like this time and time again, and it's just not an intuitive thought. It's just not something that people do. But oh well, it makes for good entertainment, and I'm here for it. So thank you, OP, for the story. Thank you for the update, and I hope you kick Jane out of your life, and I hope you encourage others to kick her out of their lives as well, because she is a leech. And I'd love to know what you guys think about this one. Our next post is by user Throw Away Cake, titled, My friends with benefits said I love you during sex. I, 19 female, have been hooking up with one of my close friends, 19 male, for about 2 months. We've been friends since we were 12, so telling each other I love you isn't strange for us, and is something that we've done countless times before. However, this was the first time that it's happened during sex, and I don't know what that means. Last night, we were having sex in missionary position. It had been a really intimate and sweet night. Lots of kissing and foreplay, very gentle movements. You get the idea. When he was getting close, he told me that he loved me. His head was buried in my neck, but I could still hear him clearly. I wasn't uncomfortable or anything, let me be clear. I thought it was really sweet, and I said it back. He then moved his head to look at me, and he smiled, then kissed me and finished. I had already finished before him. Then, while we were cuddling afterwards, he brought it up and seemed a bit embarrassed. He apologized and explained that it just slipped out in the heat of the moment, but I assured him there was nothing to be sorry for and that I thought that it was really sweet. Now I keep replaying this moment and his reaction to me, saying it back in my head, and I'm wondering if there is more to it. He seemed genuinely in awe that I said it back, which doesn't make sense because I've told him that I loved him multiple times before, and I really don't know why he was embarrassed unless he meant it more than an I love you as a friend type of way. Is this something that I should talk to him more about? Because I'm not gonna lie, I think I may have caught feelings. So if he feels the same, then I would love to know. I just don't want to make things awkward or embarrass him again, or myself. Does this mean that he has feelings for me and should I talk to him about it? In the comments, DeCripe says, yes, he has feelings for you. Then you said it back. He took it to me that you were reciprocating. If you're not ready for a relationship with him, then you need to speak with him ASAP. Sex and feeling can be hard to separate for some people, actually most people. Just make sure to let him down easy that you don't want anything more than friends with benefits for now. OP says, thank you for your advice. If he wants a relationship, then so do I, so I will be talking to him soon. Well then, it sounds like you're already in a relationship, but neither of you realize it yet. It's a beautiful thing. Diggsy Dinner says, you've been friends for years, now having sex, and he says he loves you. If I had to guess, I'd say he wants a proper relationship. You should be able to communicate without feeling awkward and find out if this is what you both want. If he doesn't want a relationship, okay, you have a little bit of awkwardness, but with the time you've known each other, you should both be able to get over this. For what it's worth, I've never said I love you during sex to someone that I didn't want a relationship with. And OP says, thank you for your advice. I'll text him and ask him to meet up. Yeah, sounds to me like they're in a relationship. Let's call a spade here, guys. I think a relationship is coming in the update. And now, on to the update. I was not expecting my post to get much attention. Many people have asked for an update, so I decided to make a separate post for that. I tried posting it to the sub, but before I give the update, I do want to address a couple of things. Before I turned my chats off, as some people are very strange, I got a few DMs asking how we got together in the first place, and I didn't know if other people were curious about that as well. We both grew up in very conservative and sex-negative households. Basically, our only sex education was simply, don't do it. So sex had been a weird topic for both of us for some time. We were in the same homeschool group, and that's how we met and became friends. A few months ago, we ended up talking and decided to give our virginities to each other, which then progressed into a friends with benefits relationship, and so far, we've only slept with each other. I also tend to be a very oblivious person when it comes to people having feelings for me. Even when the signs are obvious, blaring in all caps neon letters, I'm still like, I wonder what they mean by that. Or not even give it another thought. I know it's bad, and I've been trying to work on it, but sometimes I still miss. Okay, now what you've been waiting for. I really sat down with myself and thought hard about how I feel, and I figured out that I do love him. Like, I'm pretty down bad, to be honest. So I texted him and asked if we could meet up and chat, like y'all recommended. So we ended up hanging out at his apartment like usual, and just did random things at first. Had some food, watched some funny videos on YouTube, stuff like that. And then I asked him if we could talk. I started off by telling him that when I said I love you back last night, I meant it and I always have. Then I asked him what he meant when he told me that he loved me and that I just want us to be honest with each other. Because I love him and nothing could change that. I could tell he was a bit nervous, so I held his hand and that seemed to help. He started talking and he admitted that he is in love with me. He told me that he had a crush on me when we were younger, but he figured that it would go away eventually, and he thought it did. But when we started having sex, the feelings came back, or he started noticing them all over again. And last night was really emotional for him, so the words just slipped out without him thinking about it. He told me he got really excited when I said it back, but then he figured that I didn't mean it that way. That's why he reacted the way he did. I could tell he was still really nervous now. I told him I meant it and that I'm in love with him too. The look on his face. We were both very happy and relieved. We talked some more and agreed to be official and exclusive. We then kissed some and did some other things. Some tears may have been shed. It was a very emotional time. So yeah, happy to report a happy ending here. In the comments, Juz Wondon says, realizing you're in love with someone after you screw them and tell them you love them is hilarious. Only young people could be reciprocally telling someone they love them for years, be having sex with this person, then reciprocally tell them that they love them during sex, and still be worried this person might not like them back. I kind of miss it, but Jesus, being in your late teens and early 20s is kind of like having an emotional disorder. We've known each other since we were preteens, we're very close, and the other day he told me he loved me while he was balls deep inside me. I think he might have feelings for me, or am I reading too much into this? To be young, dumb, and homeschooled. Oh, what a time to be alive. That was a pretty good one, I like that. I'm glad that we had such a nice happy ending. Who's looking forward to some more emotional roller coasters from here on out? What is this communicative, beautiful exchange between two people having feelings for each other and being transparent? We don't do that here. Thank you for the story, OP. That was amazing, and I'm glad that you guys got through that one together. Everyone came together in the end, huh? Our next post is by user TA Work Sister, titled, Am I the asshole for calling my coworker work sister after she called me work husband in front of everyone? I, 34 male, work in a small office, and we have about 30 people working here. Mary, 35 female, is one of my co-workers. We've been working together for 6 years now. We have 6 people in our department, and we have to frequently travel across the state as our work involves overseeing government projects. We always travel in a group of 2, although my travel partner changes based on the project. Mary and I are generally put on similar projects and each enjoy each other's company. My wife also likes Mary. Overall, we have a very healthy work relationship. On to the incident. Yesterday, we had a happy hour in the office and we were all drinking after work hours and chatting. It was a group of around 10 people that stayed back. Mary was blabbering about how we both have been traveling together so much in the last year. She was roasting me for my habits while traveling, like always forgetting stuff in my hotel room, being sweaty and stinky when I join her for breakfast in the mornings, because I go to the hotel gym. Everyone was laughing, and she was telling everyone how unbearable I was to tag along with, all in good fun. I also told some funny and sweet stories about her, and agreed with her, saying that I can be difficult to be with sometimes. Mary came to me and hugged me tightly and told me that she loves me and that I am her work husband. It was all innocent on the surface, but she might have been a bit drunk and just didn't let go of her tight hug. Also, I hate that phrase, as I do have a wife that I promise to be with forever and not just in non-working hours. After a few seconds, I started becoming uncomfortable and also saw a few people staring at us. So to defuse the situation, I took her hands off of my shoulder and told her that she was my work sister, and that is why I love to annoy her so much. That seemed to have upset Mary, and she left and went back to her desk and was sobbing silently. I tried to apologize to her, but she told me how embarrassing the whole situation was. She said that she just meant work husband in a platonic way, but me calling her work sister made her sound like a creep in front of the whole office. She was also angry that I aggressively removed her hands from my shoulders while hugging. I tried to reason with her that I do not like the work husband phrase, and also people gave dirty looks when she said it, so I was just trying to make sure people don't take her words in the wrong way. We talked for a few minutes afterwards and Mary calmed down. She hugged me again and then left. I felt really guilty afterwards because I can see Mary's point. I made her sound like a creep by implying that she meant something inappropriate when she called me her work husband. However, I was a bit uncomfortable in that situation and just didn't want people to call us that, or assume something wrong. Am I the asshole for calling Mary my work sister? I'm sitting in my office writing this and am a bit worried if I embarrassed Mary in front of everyone. In the comments, Oddly Quirky says, I think you meant to ask in your last sentence if you're the asshole for calling her your work sister, not work wife. Regardless, no, you're not the asshole. All too often, work spouses end up being inappropriately involved, and you are trying to head off any rumors. Good on you. I think your work sister is a much better term. And OP says, thanks for catching the typo. I'm too nervous this morning to face her. Charming Function says, you didn't do anything wrong. Not the asshole. To my mind, she raises a red flag by being so upset about it. It meant more to her than it did to you. You may need to set a boundary of not traveling with her. Sinho says, it sounded like she may be in love with OP. She reacted as if he friend-zoned her. Hummus says, not the asshole. Though you're being far too generous. The reason why she jumped straight to thinking that you were calling her a creep is because she knows what she was doing was inappropriate. Work husband is considered widely inappropriate now, and she knows this. You responded correctly. You owe your actual wife loyalty. Mary needs to back off and act more of a professional. Yeah, Mary going off to sob and then deflect and say, actually, no, you're the one embarrassing me. What the hell? Mary, get your drunk ass home. What is happening with you? You know what you're doing, Mary. You're hugging him like that. You're putting your hands all over his shoulders tightly, and everyone's giving you a dirty look. You know, if looks could make you dirty, those looks would make you filthy. So I don't buy it. Don't feel bad, OP. You're not the asshole for setting boundaries with Mary here. She's an asshole for her stupid reaction to this and trying to make you feel bad for something that she started and she perpetuated. Not the asshole at all. And now, onto the update, posted 5 days later. So I posted this on about calling my coworker Mary my work sister after she tried to call me her work husband in front of the entire office. A lot of you are asking for an update, but the sub doesn't allow me to post one, so I'm writing it here. Thanks for everyone for your comments and giving me confidence. I did not do anything wrong or inappropriate. As I was sitting in my office the next day, I knew things would be a bit awkward between Mary and I. Mary ignored me the whole morning. Initially, I was planning to go and apologize to her, but after the post, I decided that I don't need to do that, as I should be the one who was offended. Everyone in the office could see that we were acting weird, and I heard some people gossiping about us. One of the ladies also came to me and asked me if I wanted to talk about Mary and I. At around 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I was sitting in my office working. Mary came into my office and closed the door behind her. She was angry at me and started saying that I need to stop being an asshole and stop ignoring her. I told her to sit and talk about what is going on. She told me that she feels humiliated and everyone has been staring at her the whole morning because of what I did. I also stood my ground and told her that I was okay with her making fun of me, but calling me her work husband and hugging me in front of everyone for a long time made the situation awkward. She told me to get over myself and that I should know exactly what she meant. Mary said that I made a big deal of what was supposed to be a joke and then made it awkward for everyone. She said calling someone work husband is a normal thing and just means that she knows me intimately like a spouse would. She said that because we spend so much time traveling together, she knows all of the intimate details of how I behave outside of work. I stopped her and told her that I felt offended by the term work husband because I have a wife and I don't want people to use that term to describe our relationship. I told her that she would not understand as she is single, but as a married man, I really don't want anyone to describe me as a husband in any capacity. She said that I am again misinterpreting what she was saying. She felt that as we have known each other for more time than I've been married, she knows me more intimately than even my wife. I have no idea why she feels that way, and that I also behave like her husband when we travel together. She went on about how we go out to dinners together after work, how I always insist on having breakfast together in the morning, to plan our actions of the day, and I walk around in my underwear, referring to my gym shorts, around her in the mornings. She also talked about how we spend hours talking to each other during road trips, and how I'm the only man she can trust with any secret in her life. She said that I am the definition of work husband, and I'm just in denial. I was a bit angry at this point. I told her that I do all of that because I consider her my friend, and she is delusional if she feels she knows me more intimately than my wife. I told her I do not want to hear that term again, and it is extremely disrespectful to my marriage. Only one woman gets to call me her husband, and that is my wife. Moreover, if my actions are giving her such ideas, maybe we need to stop being friends. She became apologetic afterwards and told me that she didn't mean to disrespect my wife, and it was not her intention. She apologized to me and told me to just let it go. She said that she loves traveling with me, and she doesn't want to change anything between us. She again said that I am misinterpreting her statement and just wants to move on. She came to hug me again, but I told her that it was okay and stepped back. I also talked to my wife about the incident that night. As expected, my wife was angry at Mary and told me that she hates the term work husband. She asked me if Mary has ever flirted with me during our trips or has a crush on me. I truthfully told her that I really have not felt that way, and she may have just said that because she was a bit drunk and is now being stubborn about it. My wife said that she feels a bit uncomfortable about Mary now and says that it's strike one for Mary and that I need to try and put more distance between us while traveling. If she ever repeats the same behavior again, I should report her to Human Resources. I promised my wife that I would try to reduce my interactions with Mary outside of work hours and be more guarded around her. Update: thanks everyone for the comments and explaining the urgency of the situation. I discussed it with my wife and have set up meetings with my manager and HR today. I plan to not file a complaint, but to document what happened last week and why it made me uncomfortable. I don't have any upcoming travel this week due to holidays, but have to travel next Tuesday with her at a work site. I'll discuss with my manager on what my options are. However, I also feel a little distance between Mary and me for some time would be the right solution for now. In the comments, Otherwise Beat says, "Not the arsehole. I agree you should go to HR so they're aware of the situation. I would also suggest no more business trips with her if possible. The fact that she claims to know you more intimately than your wife is not only delusional and disrespectful, it's concerning. She's only beginning to show her crazy side. Also, she said that you walk around in your underwear. Mary's description of your relationship sounds really clingy and dependent. She has created a narrative in her head about your connection, and the part where she says the only man she can trust with any secret in her life, that is not a work husband, whatever that means. You better keep your interactions register and public. This can bite you in the ass very fast." Not the arsehole. I agree with your wife that you should report this to HR just to cover your ass. Agreed. It's obvious your coworker is up for something else. Also, to avoid arguments between you and your wife regarding this one, listen to her and report your coworker to HR. And now, onto the update 2 months later. I wrote a while ago regarding my coworker friend Mary being upset with me for calling her my work sister when she called me her work husband in front of everyone. I'm sorry to leave everyone hanging, but the next few weeks were busy and the issue was eventually resolved. Thanks to everyone for the comments, they really helped me realize when I talked to my manager about the situation. However, the last week has been crazy, so I wanted to get some opinions on what I should do next. After my last post, my wife and I were no longer comfortable with Mary's behavior. Although a part of me thought that I was overreacting and that it was just a part of Mary's personality, I felt the need to protect myself. I requested a meeting with my manager and HR to document my side of the story. I wrote down everything and told them about the incident at the party, as well as Mary's coming into my office and the comments that she made. I made it clear that while I don't want them to take action against her, I wanted to emphasize that her behavior made me uncomfortable, especially her comments about knowing me better than my wife and the remarks about my shorts. My manager had already heard about the incident at the happy hour, as everyone in the office was talking about it. He told me he would try to shake up the travel schedule to minimize our travel together. The issue was that only 4 people in our company generally work on off-site audits, and the other 2 co-workers did not want to split up because they claimed they worked well together. As a result, I continued traveling with Mary for the next couple of weeks, but it was awkward and I kept my distance. My manager then called Mary and me to his office and informed us that he was planning to train a new auditor, Carolina, 26 female, and set up a schedule where she would travel with me for 1 week and then with Mary the following week. We were asked to train her. I liked this arrangement because it meant that I no longer had to travel with Mary. Carolina turned out to be a great travel buddy, and I made sure not to get too comfortable with her. I always dressed professionally when we went for breakfasts, avoided late-night drinks, and maintained healthy boundaries. Things were great until last week. Last Tuesday, I could feel everyone staring at me when I entered the office, and I was immediately called to a meeting with my manager and HR. HR asked if I had anything to report regarding Carolina and if she had made any advances toward me during our work trips. I told them no, that Carolina had been very professional the entire time. I asked why I was being interrogated, and they told me they couldn't disclose any further details, but that Carolina was being investigated by HR for inappropriate conduct. I left the meeting, and Mary came to my office, asking what had happened. She mentioned that she was also told that Carolina would no longer be traveling with us, and that we were asked to travel together again. I told her that I had no idea what was going on. I messaged Carolina to see if she was okay and if she needed to talk. She asked if she could come to my office, and I agreed. Carolina explained that someone anonymously sent messages to her boyfriend, posing as someone from the office over the weekend. The message included screenshots of Carolina sending some inappropriate pictures that she had taken in her hotel rooms during our travels, and flirtatious messages. This person claimed to be her boyfriend that Carolina was trying to cheat with him at work, and he was just trying to warn them. Her boyfriend went crazy after seeing the pictures, ghosted her, and then sent the messages to HR as revenge. Carolina was in tears, telling me that she had only taken those pictures for her boyfriend and had no idea how they got leaked or how those messages even existed. Her boyfriend was furious because he also received the exact pictures from Carolina and knew that they weren't fake. I consoled Carolina, but she's in deep trouble, as our workplace takes such things very seriously, because we work on government contracts, and I'm sure everyone suspects that I am the anonymous messenger. I was told that the matter would be investigated, and Mary and I would be working together on the project again. My manager said that there was nothing he could do, and also mentioned that they might go through my emails and my messages on my company phone as a part of the investigation into Carolina. Mary seems very happy about the whole situation, and keeps talking about how excited she is to revisit the restaurants and bars that we used to frequent during off-site trips. She also keeps referring to Carolina as that pervert. The whole thing is just crazy. My wife, of course, believes that I would never do anything inappropriate with Carolina, and that I wasn't the anonymous messenger. However, her conspiracy theory is that Mary, who was also traveling with Carolina, may have unlocked her phone and accessed the photos. It feels far-fetched, but the fact is, I'm not thrilled about traveling with Mary again. I don't think I have any other recourse to get off this project except leaving the job, which isn't possible at this time. I know many of you work in HR, and I would appreciate any advice on what I can do next. In the comments, Sad Hippos says, "It was totally Mary. That's both terrifying and so creepy. I feel really bad for Carolina. I do not work in HR, but I would absolutely report again to your manager what Mary has been saying regarding the trips and her turn of phrase about Carolina as the situation continues. Write down her phrases and comments with dates and timestamps. You need to set very hard walls with Mary. Only ever contact her on the work phone and ensure that you are not alone together unless it is in a very public place, preferably with cameras. I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this, but I'm really glad that you and your wife's relationship has not been affected by it. Stay strong, you did nothing wrong here." DJ Purity says, "Yeah, there's something about Mary that's off. It feels far-fetched. It really doesn't. There's two options. 1. Carolina sent the messages to her boyfriend from a burner account, or 2. Mary hacked her phone. As only you and Mary have traveled with her and it wasn't you, then which of the two options makes the most sense? Does Mary have a PIN code on her phone? Is she protective about hiding it? Most aren't. If you leave your phone to go to the toilet, someone can go into the Chrome settings and copy your user and password for your email, photos, etc., and access them at any time." And now, onto the latest update, posted 3.5 months later. I wrote a post 6 months ago regarding calling my coworker Mary work sister and upsetting her in the process. Things got really weird afterwards, and I was paired with another coworker, Carolina, for work trips. Someone anonymously tipped her boyfriend that Carolina was engaged in messaging explicit pictures to her coworker, and he in turn reported her to our HR as revenge before breaking off with her. No one explicitly said it, but I could see that everyone suspected me to be the other person. After that, Mary and I again were asked to travel together despite my reservations, mostly because others did not want to travel with me. I'm sorry that I didn't write an update because nothing noteworthy happened until last Friday, and my wife Brooke and I have been arguing ever since about what to do next. I have been applying for similar positions in the last few months, but it's hard to find a similar job in this market. Brooke has expressed her reservations on me traveling with Mary, but also understands that I would stop traveling with her if I could. We have bills and a mortgage, and I cannot just leave my job. Just like most commenters on the previous post, she believes that Mary framed Carolina. I have been extremely professional with Mary during our travels. Things are not as before, where I would consider her my close friend. I am always guarded around her and try to spend most of my time in my room after work. Carolina stuck around for around a month after I wrote the post, when the HR was investigating the incident. I tried to support her initially, and also told my manager that she has been very professional. However, rumors started spreading around that I am going above and beyond to save her job, and she spent a lot of time in my office talking to me alone. We mutually decided that the optics were not good and started distancing ourselves. She resigned a month after the incident because she told me that she cannot take it anymore. From what I know, she is still looking for a job. Mary, on the other hand, seems to be happy on our work trips. Although I act extremely professional around her, a part of me knows that she might be the person who framed Carolina. I have no proof, it's just intuition. I also feel that Mary is the one spreading rumors about Carolina and me in the office. She always plans for dinners after work and sometimes asks me to get a drink at the hotel as before. I generally avoid drinking on these trips now. There were a few times where she was insistent that I get a beer, but I told her that I'm already on thin ice at work, and I promised Brooke that I would not drink on these trips. This has not stopped her from getting hammered and me having to drop her to her room at the end of the day a few times. Brooke has been very supportive throughout the whole time and has never once suspected me or blamed me for anything. She has asked me to not drink on these trips, and also to make sure that I call her every night when I reach my room and when I go to sleep. I also voluntarily installed location tracking apps on my phone, so that she has peace of mind to know where I am during these trips. On to the incident from last Friday. We had a Christmas party last Friday at our office. Brooke joined me, and the party was great. Mary asked me for a dance, but I declined, and Mary didn't look thrilled about it. Brooke was lovely, and we danced together for most of the night. There was one point where I was talking to my manager and a few other colleagues, and Brooke was talking to my manager's wife. Mary interrupted them and started bragging about how she has to take care of me during work trips since I am just so clumsy. Brooke joined in on how clumsy and forgetful I am at home. Mary then told Brooke that I make her feel safe on the trips and told her about the incident where she got drunk and how I took care of her by dropping her to her room and sitting by her bedside until she fell asleep. Mary insisted that I'm a gentleman and that nothing happened, but how I also show care for her. Brooke knew about the incidents when I dropped her to her room. However, at no time did I enter Mary's room. Brooke didn't say anything at that time, but when we got home, this turned into a huge argument. I told Brooke that I didn't enter her room and just led her to the room, and immediately called her and told her about the incident. I even showed her the text conversation where I messaged Brooke after leaving the restaurant and when I got to the room along with timestamps. After Brooke calmed down, she told me that she believes me, but it's crazy how fluently Mary lied to her in front of my manager's wife. She told me that Mary is just trying to plant a seed of doubt in her head and that she cannot pretend anymore that she is okay with Mary. She told me that Mary ruined Carolina's career, and if she doesn't get her way, she might do the same to me. Brooke has asked me if I can draw a red line on traveling with Mary, and if my manager does not accept, I should just resign. I feel like Brooke is right, and nothing is more important to me than her. However, it feels so shitty to be in this situation where all my hard work to reach this point in my career will be ruined. I don't know what to do next. I'm really hoping to get advice and ideas on what I can do here. I just feel so trapped, and I'm not sure what I can do at this point. And in the comments, New One Form says, "You really need to stop engaging with Mary at all, other than what is necessary to do your job. You don't need to babysit her or get her to her room. You're kinda making it easy for her to raise suspicions in others. Do your job, then get back to your hotel room. You don't need to organize meals with her. You seem like you're still trying to be nice to Mary, which leads it to be easy for her to play you. And start making a paper trail." RO224 says, "Actually, I think a condition of future trips is to be in separate hotels. With separate hotels comes separate travel to wherever you have to go. You can go back to your hotel to eat, etc., so you'll have far fewer interactions with her." Bon42 says, "Tell your manager the truth, even about suspicions. You can say, I have no proof, but I do have suspicions that Mary framed Carolina, and I'm worried that she may do the same to me. I feel sexually harassed, and this is causing problems in my marriage." Your nuclear option is to threaten to sue your job for hostile work environment sexual harassment. Don't resign without a plan to sue. Seriously, you need legal or union advice. The man needs to use the incident with the boss's wife against Mary. If he goes up to his boss and tells him, "Hey, Mary is literally lying about what's happening on our work trips, not just to my wife, but to your wife. I had to go home and provide proof to my wife that what she said isn't happening. I can't go on these trips anymore. As a married man, I hope you can understand that." Boss literally has the wife to act as a witness to what she said, and regardless of if he believes it actually happened that way or not, he should understand that a line was crossed. My wife lost a lot of weight to gain the attention of her work crush. How do I move forward? After we had our kids, my wife gained a lot of weight, like 80 pounds, and honestly, I was fine with it. I thought she was still hot, and my desire for intimacy never waned. So for a while, she was fine with her weight too. Fast forward 5 years, and all of a sudden my wife gets really into fitness and nutrition. She buys a Peloton, goes on a strict diet, and loses all of the weight and then some. She looks like she did when I met her in her early 20s. She looks great, but like I said, she looked great heavy too. Then one day last week she comes home from work, and I can tell that something's really bothering her. I ask her what's wrong, but she's just evasive and distant. This lasts a few days before she finally breaks. She tells me that the reason she was so determined to lose weight was because she wanted attention from the guy at work that she has a crush on. She said that all the women have a crush on this guy, and she just wanted his attention. Well, apparently, she got too much of it on the day that she came home so upset. He had apparently been flirting with my wife for a few weeks, and that day, he asked her if she wanted to have dinner with him after work at a restaurant that just so happens to be in a hotel. He heavily implied that they could get a room afterwards, or even just skip the restaurant and just get room service. She tells me that to this point it was all just a fantasy in her head, but now it was real and she snapped out of it. She realized that she had gone way too far. She declined his invitation, of course, and felt that she needed to confess what she had done to me. I was crushed and still am. First, I'm actually upset that she told me. I know this is some form of cheating, but I didn't suspect anything. She could have just kept this to herself and not passed her burden on to me. So the thought comes to my mind that maybe she wants me to dump her so that she can be with this guy, and that is why she is telling me. So I ask her that, and she breaks down crying. That's not what she wants. She says she loves me and just wanted to be honest with me and apologize. Nothing physical happened, I'm pretty sure of it. I can track her phone and also have pretty free access to it. She never hides it, leaves it everywhere, and that phone never leaves work. I suppose she could be cheating on her lunch break and leave the phone, but I just don't think that she would leave the phone and not be available for the kids. So I don't think I want a divorce. I love her and we have kids, but it's just eating at me that she did all of this work that she did to be attractive for another man. I don't know where to go or even what to ask of her. I just need some advice. In the comments, Pirate Responsible 496 says, "Losing weight is hard and it takes a lot of motivation. She said she did it because everyone else is crushing on him." Right. Some weird delusions are inside here. I feel for you, man. Dr. Stooge says, "You need couples counseling ASAP. Without that, a clear path forward will be tough to find unless something else happens." Black Magic Zero says, "No, this is over. She has been emotionally cheating for months and was very close to taking it further. This would not be some overnight journey. She's been actively going after this guy's attention and flirting with him for months now. A bit of attention or harmless flirting, this is not. This is well beyond that, and the flirting got heavy enough that the guy proposed a hotel fling with a married woman, unless she was hiding that she was married from him, which only makes these even worse. This is well beyond getting any couples counseling. He needs to simply get out. There is absolutely no excuse or reason valid for going after another man or woman actively for months at a time and flirting to beat the competition at work. Not to mention, the husband has been nothing but supportive. He continued to love her, said she was still hot, and was only supportive of her weight gain/loss. This is just not acceptable from your wife or husband." And yeah, I'm pretty much on Black Magic's side with this one. I think the only way that you can go forward from this with any self-respect is cutting it off completely. This is way, way beyond just an emotional affair. There are so many layers to it, and you'd have to get her to tell you the full story. And I imagine the more that you dive into it with her and get the full story from her, the worse it gets. I just want to know if she was hiding the fact that she was married or not, because either way, it's pretty bad. But I do think if we're going to talk semantics here, hiding the fact that she was married in order to flirt with him and have it come to this natural conclusion, that's a lot worse. That's so much worse. I don't even think you go to couples counseling for this one. Like, you can if you want to. You can fix this marriage if you want to, but this person that you were married to has no respect for you. They have no respect for your marriage, and they have no respect for themselves. I don't see anyone with self-respect of their own staying with someone like this. And now, onto the update, 8 days later. I want to thank everyone for commenting on my original post. I got some good advice, but above all, I just needed to vent, so thanks for listening. I talked more with my wife after my first post in an attempt to understand why she did what she did. From what she tells me, every woman in the office swoons over this guy. They all flirted with him, my wife included, and he never flirted back. A few of the single ones have basically thrown themselves at him, but still got nothing. So my wife thinks to herself that when she was younger and thinner, she could and did have guys that looked like him chase after her. So she wanted to prove to herself that she still could get that attention of a hot young guy if she wanted. To answer a common question, yes, she was very heavily flirting with him, but she says that he knew she was married, and since she didn't plan on ever being with him alone, it was harmless. Now that I think about it, she was in a great mood in the few weeks prior to her breaking down. She was kind of all over me as well. We hadn't had that much sex in years. She tells me that it wasn't so much the guy at work heating her up, but how his attention made her feel. Which again, I always have given her plenty of attention. Why that wasn't enough to make her feel good about herself, I don't know, and that's really what hurt me most. What I thought of her didn't matter. She says what I thought did matter, but she asked me if she walked past me on the street at her heaviest, would I turn and look? I don't do that with anyone, but I still would have found her attractive. But I guess I see the point she's making. When she was younger, she did get a lot of head turns, and she got used to that. She liked the attention, and when that all went away, it made her depressed. In the end, I think we'll be okay. I'll get over this, but as of now, I'm not letting her know that. I told her that she needs to go to therapy and work on why she needs this external validation from people she doesn't care about. She agreed to do that. Like I said in my original post, I don't think she did anything physical with him. We have Lifestyle 360, and I see where she goes, and she goes straight from home to the office and back every day. She either brings lunch or gets something delivered. I just don't think that happened. I acted cold towards her for a few days. It may have been quite a little bit cruel, but I wanted to see her sweat a little, and I think I was questioning the relationship. Selfishly, I wanted to see her panic and try to win me back. I felt I needed to see that she cares what I think of her. She was a mess, bordering on desperate. She cried a lot, which eventually broke me. I love her, and I couldn't stand to see her sad. So, in short, she's going to therapy, and we will be doing couples counseling down the road. Thanks for all of the advice, everyone. In the comments, Bluff Ponder Smudge says, "Is the co-worker single? The fact that he chose a hotel instead of his place was weird to me. If he isn't, you might want to tell his partner. I'm very glad that you're happy with the resolution." Vast Road says, "Hotel? Absolutely there is a partner. If she wants to stay married, she gets to tell his significant other that she pursued him and caught him, because I doubt that she snapped out of it before they went to a hotel. She might have chickened out when it was time to go up to the room, but I wouldn't be shocked that she did go upstairs with a fair partner." Care24 says, "Your wife cheated and you were just a little bit cold for a few days? Hope you're at least warm under that giant red flag of hers." Surreal Goblin says, "I guess it turns out that raising people to believe that their worth comes from being sexually desirable to men doesn't promote behaviors that facilitate genuine connection. Who would have guessed?" That's what Mary Wollstonecraft said in the 1700s. Weird how that works. And here is what she said. "Taught from their infancy that beauty is women's scepter, the mind shapes itself to the body, and roaming round its gilt cage, only seeks to adorn its prison. And women, intoxicated by the adoration which men, under the influence of their senses, pay them, do not seek to obtain a durable interest in their hearts, or to become the friends of the fellow creatures who find amusement in their society. But women are very differently situated with respect to each other, for they are all rivals. Is it then surprising that when the sole ambition of woman centers in beauty, and interest gives vanity additional force, perpetual rivalships should ensue? They are all running the same race, and would rise above the virtue of morals, if they did not view each other with a suspicious and even envious eye. And this homage to woman's attractions has distorted their understanding to such an extent that almost all the civilized women of the present century are anxious only to inspire love, when they ought to have the nobler aim of getting respect for their abilities and virtues." That was in Vindication of the Rights of Women, 1792. I guess for my opinion, OP's welcome to stay in that relationship if they would like to, but I think this has happened once, it is going to happen again. She has done so much wrong to him, and I don't know if he realizes that or he does, and he's just forgiving her for it and choosing to stay in the relationship. But as I said before, yeah, I'm going to stick to that line of thinking. I've lost respect for OP for doing that. And yeah, you'll say in the comments, Marky, people can do whatever they want in their relationships. Absolutely. People are not entitled to my respect. There were no genuine repercussions. There wasn't really any remorse coming from her side in this one. And he apologized to her for being cold. She's disgusting, and he has no spine. Maybe they're meant to be together. Thanks for the story, OP. I hope all goes well in the future, but hey, let us know if it doesn't. Our next post is user FoCaiFem, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for shutting my sister out of my family's lives and declining her wedding invitation? 5 years ago, my niece Nikki and her friends ridiculed and harassed my son Mark. They speculated about his sexuality, called him slurs, and even used the N-word with a hard R, all for their entertainment. When Mark came home, he was crying, shaking, and yelling as he tried to tell me what happened. It was heartbreaking. I immediately approached my sister to address the issue. I explained Mark's side of the story and the state that he was in, but she dismissed it, claiming her daughter and her friends would never act that way. She didn't even offer to talk to Nikki. This wasn't an isolated incident either. A few months before, Nikki kicked Mark in the genitals in front of her friends as a joke. When I demanded an explanation and an apology, Nikki refused and started crying and claimed that it was unfair to hold her accountable, even as Mark was still in pain. Nikki also has a history of mean-spirited behavior, such as calling my younger son Corey, then 6 years old, the annoying child, instead of his name. Corey has asked me why she does this and shared how much it upsets him. In the case of Mark, my sister doubled down, claiming that one of Nikki's friends, the one who used the N-word, couldn't possibly be racist because she's Mexican. Her exact words were, "I don't know what you want me to do about this." That was the final straw for me. I told her that if she wasn't willing to address the issue, it was in my family's best interest to distance ourselves. 3 days later, she called me, said that she spoke to Nikki, and told me that we're good on my end. No details, no resolution, just that. When I followed up via email asking what was discussed and what actions would be taken, she never responded. To this day, no apology has been offered, not from my sister, Nikki, or the other kids involved. I informed my extended family about the situation and my decision to keep the kids away from my sister's family. While some were supportive, others, including my mother, have tried to undermine this boundary. One time, my mum secretly took my kids to spend time with my sister's family without my permission. I only found out because my younger son mentioned it. I was furious and drove an hour to pick them up immediately. Fast forward to today, I've received criticism for maintaining this boundary. My sister is now getting married and invited us to the wedding, but I declined. My mother even asked if she could take my kids to the wedding, and I flatly said no. There has been no effort from my sister to apologize or to reconcile. The only time she's reached out after the incident was to add me to a group chat asking if she could take her to a birthday party in Chicago. No mention of the harm that she caused. I'm standing firm in my decision to protect my kids, but I've been labeled as overly harsh and unforgiving. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, someone says, blocking them will allow you to protect yourself from further manipulation or guilt trips. And OP replies, I blocked her and removed myself from chat groups 5 years ago. I only found out last week that she had asked my brother for my information so she could send me an invitation to her wedding. Another commenter says, you should apologize to your mum. I'm sorry you raised an asshole daughter who was well on her way to raise an asshole granddaughter. Was your sister the golden child growing up? And OP says, let's see. I was 15 sleeping in my room when my mum woke me up after midnight screaming and yelling about my sister not being home. She snuck out of the house to be with her boyfriend. My mum threw me out of her house that night and tossed all of my clothes onto the lawn. I was punished for my sister's actions. Yes, my sister is the golden child. Another commenter asks, since you've never gotten any apology, how can you be unforgiving? And OP says, I ask myself this question more than necessary. Since I'm part of a big Catholic family, that word gets hurled in my direction all the time. Someone else says, everyone sucks here. Your sister and niece acted atrociously, and you were right to cut them both out of your family's lives, but why did it take so long? Your son was physically assaulted, and yet for months after, you thought he should still spend time with his cousin. Why? Better late than never, but you still shouldn't have been late when it came to protecting your child from a bully. And OP says, I did ask if he wanted to stay there. I never forced him to go. You were not wrong though, and 5 years later, I still haven't forgiven myself for this. And now, onto the update, which was posted the next day. I'd like to start by reminding everyone that I am a mum. My time on Reddit is limited. I can pop in for a quick one-line response in the morning, but once my kids are awake, I'm fully in mum mode until they're asleep again. This is why my posts and updates tend to happen late at night. For those claiming that this post is fake, think what you want. I'm not wasting my energy convincing you otherwise. My daily life is already exhausting, especially with the added family pressure that I'm dealing with. To provide some context, this situation started 5 years ago. My relationship with my mother wasn't great to begin with. After she secretly took my kids to spend time with my sister, I distanced my family from her too. About a week later, my mum reached out to apologize and took steps towards reconciliation. A few months after that, I started allowing her back into our lives, but I set firm boundaries. For instance, she's not allowed to take my kids anywhere without me. For the next year, I avoided large family gatherings to steer clear of my sister. However, 3 years after the incident, we attended a funeral where my sister and her family were present. My youngest, who was only 2 at the time of the original events, didn't even remember them. Today, he's curious and might want to get to know them, but Mark has no interest. He will smile politely in shared spaces, but that's it. Corey remembers hearing the annoying child, but doesn't realize it was directed at him. Over the years, we've had minimal interaction with my sister's family during shared events, mostly just nods of acknowledgement. Still, no apologies or meaningful attempts to reconcile have ever come from my sister. This year, the pressure from extended family has been relentless, with my brother being the most vocal. He insists that I need to squash my feud because family events aren't the same. After last night, I realized getting everyone in a room to address this was impossible, so I sent a message in the family group chat. I explained that while some may not fully grasp the impact of what happened, it was deeply hurtful and damaging to my family. I also asked them to focus on this special time for my sister while respecting my boundaries and leaving my family out of it. I made it clear that if anyone couldn't respect my boundaries, I would have no choice but to distance myself from them as well. This prompted some quick responses like, "I'm sorry if I ever made you feel that way, and I wasn't trying to pressure you." It's been 5 years of uncomfortable moments, family jabs, and constant pressure for the sake of keeping the peace. It's been draining, but I want to sincerely thank this community for the advice and support you've given me over the last 24 hours. The renewed energy to stand firm in my decision has meant more than I can express. Before signing off for the night, I'd like to mention that yes, I did use AI to help structure my posts and trim unnecessary emotional content. In the comments, Coming in the Nile says, quote, 5 years ago, my niece Nikki and her friends ridiculed and harassed my son Mark. Why would you stay in contact with these people if those kids did not offer an immediate, sincere apology? Droppy91 says, it's a lot harder to cut off family in real life than it is on Reddit, because usually it's not all awful. There are good moments and memories. There sometimes even is support during hard times, even if it's with strings attached and the possibility of a dagger in your back. It's hard to undo the conditioning that most of us with these types of parents and siblings have gone through. If you hear from birth that it's for your own good, If you weren't so bad, this wouldn't have happened. You're the oldest, you need to make sure your siblings don't mess up, etc., etc. It's really hard to stop that little voice in your head that repeats these sentences. Even if they are toxic and should be cut off, it's not easy to actually do that. Agitated Pen replies, this. I've gone no contact with some family members, and it's effing hard. And we don't live in a bubble, so going no contact comes with wrestling with decisions like, do you go to a funeral even though the no contact relative will be there? Plus, the emotional element because you do love them despite everything. Reddit loves to tell people to go no contact, but the reality is that it's one of the most difficult things that I have ever done. YRN Queen says, I'm with you. I cut off my family, and it's a dance to maintain contact with my nieces and nephews. I'm basically this person who sends silly gifts and sees their children every couple of years, but my kids no longer have to listen to my siblings and parents spew ignorant, racist bullshit. So it's a win for us. Peter says, I'm a bit baffled at how OP managed to still stay in contact with those people, especially with how they act and the shit that they pulled off. Like, why even stay in contact with them? Catholic guilt and family bonds is a hell of a drug. I think it was a slow process. In the beginning, she only cut off the sister, but then had to do the same with the mum when the mum went against her boundaries. Then mum apologized, which helped OP reconcile. Unfortunately, by the last update, it seems every flying monkey, boat steadiers, decided enough is enough and tried to pressure her to let go of her grudge, only for her to drop the whole lot of them. Yeah, and that's just life sometimes. Are you going to allow these flying monkey boat steadiers to convince you to let go of the grudge? Is it worth it? Is it worth, the mental and physical safety of your child having something like that likely to happen again? I don't know if it's worth it. And yes, I agree. It is not easy to go no contact with people, especially if they are in your familial bubble. That's hard. That's not something that can just be done at the click of a finger. But at the same time, it should be easier for you to do when the safety and sanity of your child is at risk. I don't know if those people that naysay going no contact recognize that or not. Like, yes, it's hard, but it's a lot easier when the people you care about are getting hurt by the people that you're going no contact with. And if you have to miss funerals and you have to miss weddings because those people are going to have to be there, that's the cost of keeping those you love safe and letting them know that you support them. And I fully support OP for the decision that they have chosen here. It is not easy. They have dropped a lot of people out of their life, but keeping those people in your life will only damage your child if you let that happen. So I say I'm proud of OP for what they've done, and thank you for sharing this update with us. Our next post is by user Young Tom Soy, and it's titled, Today I messed up by knocking on my girlfriend's door. My girlfriend lives in my apartment complex, and I met her one day in September while I was out walking my dog. We ended up going on a date that same night, and pretty much instantly hit it off and started hanging out with each other almost every day. We would spend whole days together on weekends, and we did so many fun things together. I really enjoyed her company and started falling for her. My girlfriend warned me in November that from mid-month to December 15th, she would be unavailable. I thought that meant that I wouldn't be able to see her that often, but I didn't know that it meant communication from her would become almost non-existent. She stopped texting me the usual I miss you or saying good night handsome. It started going longer between texts. After a half week of this, I talked with her and asked if she was okay, and if we were okay. She explained that we were okay, but she was just incredibly busy, and all she really has capacity for is work and sleep, and maybe stopping to eat. But she apologized for making me feel anxious and said she would try. Well, time went on, and it got to be 2 weeks since we spent any time together. I had gotten to see her a few times for maybe 5 minutes in passing, but then my texts and calls started going unanswered. She had told me the last time that we were able to speak on the phone that if I ended up getting off early enough on the following Saturday, that I could come over for a bit and we could hang out. I called her that night and it rang to voicemail. I walked my dog when I got home, and when I walked by her apartment, I saw that all of her lights were off. So when I got home, I texted that it looked like she passed out and I hope she got some good sleep. I didn't hear back for 3 full days. It didn't look to me like her car ever moved out of her driveway. I never saw lights on passing by her house, and I started to get worried about her because I know she struggles with certain health issues, is super stressed, and hates her job. It seems like she suffers from symptoms of depression. So I texted her just saying that I wanted to check in on her, and it makes me feel worried when I don't hear back for this long from her. I still didn't hear anything that day. By the following day, I was extremely worried about her. I couldn't think about anything else. I reached out to her best friend and asked when the last time she had heard from her was. She told me it was the prior week. I expressed my worry and said that I wanted to give her space, but that I was getting worried and I was thinking about going to check in on her. Her friend told me that 4 days is plenty of space and that I should go check on her. I went home on my lunch break and I walked over to her house. My anxiety was in my throat. It was still dark in her house from what I could see. Her blinds were all closed. I knocked on the front door, no answer. I rang the doorbell, no answer. I knocked again a bit harder. No answer. So then I rang the doorbell again, but there was no answer, and I knocked hard enough that it felt like she would be able to hear it from the bedroom, but still there was no answer. I had my phone out with her text message up, and I started to see the typing bubble. I am on an effing client call. Stop knocking. I immediately left. I sent a text message saying sorry, I was just really worried about her, and I thought more on it, and added a little later on that I realized I went overboard with the knocking and that I was really sorry. It went another full day, and I didn't hear back. I talked to my father, who said that it doesn't seem like she is communicating, treating you very well. I told him that I just wanted to talk to her, and I had half a mind to go knock on her door now, at night, just to talk with her and let her know what is going on in my mind. But I was worried about looking crazy or ruining things further. He asked me how much would change from how things had been going, but at least if I did this and I could talk with her, then I would have an answer. So I wrote a text telling her I was going to stop by in 5 minutes to just chat for a bit, and that this was really important that we talked. I went over and rang her doorbell, no answer. So I went home and wrote a text telling her how much I liked her and how the whole situation was making me feel. How I was feeling like I was being ignored and being treated less than. How I needed some communication, how a single text every once in a while would go such a long way. I told her this wasn't a, you need to call me tonight or it's over, but I said that I needed to hear from her. I woke up the following morning to see she had sent me a long text at around 4 a.m., telling me how busy she had been, which I know. How she has barely had capacity to even get to her desk, that she has been working 14 hours a day and just crashing, telling me that she had already told me that she would be unavailable. She said coming to her door while she was working and banging on it was incredibly uncalled for. She said her car had clearly been moved. She said that me doing that while I knew she would be unavailable and she was at work, as she works from home, during work hours is a hard line for her. I didn't know that unavailable meant zero contact or being able to see her at all. But regardless, in one fell swoop, I ended my relationship with someone that I cared about deeply, all because I couldn't get a grip on my anxiety and be patient. In the comments, Life is Probably Made Up says, I don't get this shit. I don't care how busy someone is. If they can't take 30 seconds to be like, I'm sorry, I'm swamped, talk later, then you're nowhere on their list of priorities. Exactly. Screw wasting that energy. People make a million exceptions for the ones they love and a million compromises. Also, guys, here's one that I learned that has helped me going forward. Girls do not ghost guys they are interested in. If she's replying to every text at all hours of the day and night, she's into you. If she waits hours or a day or two to respond, you're getting friend responses. Man got ignored by his own girlfriend. One What's the Deal says, "No man, you didn't lose anything. She ghosted you. She left you and didn't want to make it official. Unavailable does not mean disappear into the void. It means I won't have time for dinner or hanging out. If she couldn't carve out 5 minutes here and there to even say, 'Oh man, that was a rough day. I can't wait till busy time is over and we can hang out again,' then she's not making any effort and it was never a good relationship. Be sad, talk to friends and family, feel better, and move on. You deserve better out of a partner. Good luck." I would personally love to know what her side of the story is and how she views this situation, and if there is any justification for this not just being straight up ghosting, because I'm with everyone else. This is just ghosting. She's ending the relationship. She did not communicate with you at all, and there was no justification given. I don't think there is a reasonable justification at that point. She's not doing her job in the relationship, and yeah, maybe you're doing marathon shifts, 14 hours a day, non-stop here and there, but if you still want to be in a relationship, and if you genuinely care about that person, you will carve out those 5 minutes and be like, "Hey, sorry, work's really stressful. I'll talk to you later tonight. We'll have a chat for 10 minutes. Yes, I am looking forward to seeing you after the 15th. Sorry that I'm not able to talk." You don't ghost them for days on end. That's never an acceptable thing to do. And yes, she didn't establish what unavailable meant. She didn't say, "Oh, I'm not going to be talking to you for like an entire month." It was very much vague, and it left everyone in her life not knowing what the hell is going on. I don't blame OP for their genuine reaction and his reaching out to see if she is okay. Is that not what you want your partner doing? Like, what's going on? And now, onto the update. So my last post kinda blew up, so I figured some people might appreciate an update. I mentioned at the end of my OP that she had sent me a long text the following morning telling me how much I had effed up and crossed a hard line. I did respond to that text with an apology, saying that I did let my anxiety control me, and that I wanted to work on things, that I was going into therapy to work on my own issues. She didn't explicitly say that we were over, so I asked her for clarification on where we stood, if she was done. I said, outside of that, I would not contact her until I heard back from her. As of today, it has been 12 days. She has not responded to me at all. The last 12 days have been horrible for my mental well-being. I decided yesterday to just move on and give myself my own closure. I realized a lot of important things through this experience. I realized that I didn't do anything wrong. Unavailable does not mean that you disappear and drop off the earth for days at a time, ignoring the outside world. I did nothing wrong by going to check on her. I did what I did out of love, caring, and worry. I did what I would hope a partner would do for me. No one is too busy to text a single time in 4 days. I realized that I need to take care of myself and assert my own boundaries. I learned some important needs and expectations I have of relationships. I learned about my own codependent and anxious tendencies that I need to work on. I realized there were a lot of red flags about this woman that I was ignoring. In the past 12 days, I have taken up meditation, journaling, daily practice of gratitude. I have gotten into therapy and back into the gym. I've talked with her best friend again, who hasn't heard from her in about as long as I have. The silence isn't personal to just me, which did make me feel a little better at one point. However, now I am still upset. I am mad at the way that I have been treated throughout this whole process. I know this is an extremely busy time for her, and I know she is struggling, but I still have needs, and she decided to be my girlfriend. Needs that she is apparently, for any reason, incapable of meeting. Leaving someone who loves and cares about you in the dark for 12 days when you live in a 3-minute walk from each other is unkind at best. I still don't know what's going on in her head, and I don't know if I ever will. I would still be open with talking to her and hearing her out. I am extremely unlikely to take her back though. I deserve better. I think my biggest realization is that I can give myself closure. I can detach and take care of myself and still love her and others around me. I wish I could snap my fingers and be over her, but I know it's going to take a little bit. Thank you all for the assurance, kind words, and those who reached out to support. In the comments, White Room says, "What a strange and cowardly way to break up with someone. My last ex, long distance, didn't contact me for 3 weeks after he had an invasive surgery. When I finally got him to Zoom me, he said that it was too stressful to text me good morning and good night, and that I should move in with him to make it easier. Never mind that I was working a seasonal job that he knew the end date of, and that we talked about me moving in with him when I finished it." Lemmy Historian says, "When she's available again, she will learn that all of a sudden a lot of other people are unavailable for her." Wait, but I thought relationships was something that you could just turn on and off again. What do you mean I can't just put you on a shelf like a toy? I thought you would just sit around waiting for me until I was ready to dust you off. There is more to this story. There's gotta be more. Well, he cross-posted in r/datingover30. There's a bit more context in the mod bot comment. She works in insurance, doing 12 hours, 7 days a week, for a month straight. Year-end enrollment is Insurance Super Bowl. Yeah, I'm gonna concur with you. My mother has worked for a private practice for over a decade as their office manager. At the end of the year, we are lucky to see her at all. They really are this busy. I think if you're dating over 30, you need to consider the perspectives of literal youth do not coincide with the interpersonal relationships of people establishing themselves professionally. Additionally, this work isn't only exhaustive from a time perspective, but also mentally and emotionally. You are fighting with angry, nasty people who don't want to settle up bills while concurrently muscling against the cheapest Scrooges of the season, insurance conglomerates. Take this as a lesson. It is a hard truth that I am still learning myself. I truly believe the more we invest into our inner peace, the more manageable our intrusive anxiety and thoughts will become. Mad Hatter replies, "As someone who works in insurance right now, gonna disagree. Busy season is tons and tons of work, but it does not require your absolute unbroken focus 27 hours a day to the point where you can't even communicate with anyone else. Being incredibly busy is one thing, but not answering a text from your partner, panicking over your mental health for days, even just with an 'I'm fine, just extremely busy,' is something else. It isn't that hard to do a 20-second voice message when going to bed, explaining the situation, or even being clear about not being available for even a second beforehand if you know what's about to happen. While I think that there are ways this could have been handled well, I don't think OP's girlfriend did so at all. I think being anxious over a situation like this with such a clear lack of communication before is completely valid, and no amount of self-love should make you alright with your partner or even a friend with bad mental health history just completely stop communicating out of the blue. What if something had happened to them? Dad won't spend Christmas with brother-in-law, and mum is blaming my wife. So for backstory, I, 36 female, am married to the love of my life, 36 female, Kay. We met when we were 17, she was out and proud, while I was still in the closet. So we didn't start dating until I came out at 21. We got married in 2019, and have adopted our 4-year-old son, Jack. This comes in relevant in a minute. My sister, 27 female, Sarah, has a long-term boyfriend, 28 male, Steve, who the family cannot stand. They've been together for 8 years, and the whole family has hated him from the first time we met him. He is rude, obnoxious, arrogant, and all in all, is a crappy human being. He's also someone that likes to claim that he's just honest, but if someone is honest back to him, he flips out and sulks like a toddler. In fact, my toddler is better behaved than him. He isn't abusive to Sarah and doesn't direct these comments towards her, it's just the rest of us. He's actually a good partner to her and treats her well, which is his one redeeming quality. My dad and Kay hate him the most and will do anything to avoid him at family gatherings. Kay usually just ignores him and brushes off anything he says to her as she doesn't like conflict. However, there have been a few occasions that she has said something back, but it's usually said in a joking manner, which amuses my dad to no end. My mum's a peacekeeper, and will do anything to avoid drama, so she just changes the topic whenever he starts. But she and my grandparents all hate him just as much as the rest of us. Sarah's the only one that obviously doesn't hate him. Our son's birth mother, Tess, was Kay's best friend, who sadly died in 2021. This was a real shock, as she had an underlying heart condition that she didn't know about and simply went to sleep one night and never woke up. Jack had been left alone in his cot all day screaming for his mum before Kay got worried that Tess wasn't answering her texts and went to their house to see if she was okay. She found Jack in his cot and Tess in her bed. We adopted Jack as no one in Tess's family was in a position to take him in. We raise him as our own, but he knows who Tess is. Obviously, this is a very sensitive topic for Kay, as it was traumatic for her and Jack. Now, on to what happened last weekend. It was the anniversary of Tess's death on Saturday, so Kay, Jack, and I went to visit her grave. Kay is always quiet after going to see her, and this time of year is especially hard for her. On Sunday, we had a family gathering at my parents' house. These happen every couple of months, just as a catch-up for everyone. At first, nothing was out of the ordinary. Kay and my dad were off to the side, talking as usual, only I could see that Kay was obviously struggling, so my dad and her went for a walk so she could clear her head. This is something they have done before, so nothing too unusual. However, Steve had an issue with this, and asked why they had left, and why he wasn't invited to walk with them. I explained that Tess and Kay just needed a minute. This wasn't good enough for Steve though, and he said that she should have gotten over it by now. At this, my granddad, who is naturally a very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago, and he still had days where he missed him so much it hurts. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shut up at that. Kay and my dad got back, and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch, and we started chatting. Everything was fine at first until Steve started trying to butt into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious that they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullshit. She's getting all of the attention from everyone because her friend died 3 effing years ago. Get over it, for F's sake, we're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent, and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve. Only, it didn't happen the way that I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that her and Granddad weren't talking about Tess. They were making plans to take him to the Christmas markets, but if he wants to be a dick, then no problem. She then went on to say to him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic, narcissistic F-word. That whenever he can't come to a family gathering, the whole family is much happier. That there's a reason he has no friends, and that his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out. And Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she's made a bigger impact on people than he would have if he lived until he was 150. That her funeral was crammed with people because she was so loved, whereas he would be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden, and I followed her. A few minutes later, my dad came out and said that he had told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside, and Kay apologized to everyone and said that she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone other than my mum told her that what she had done was right, and it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian has been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick Jack up from Kay's mum's house, as she had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday I got a call from Sarah saying that her and Steve wanted an apology from Kay, or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her that we wouldn't be at Christmas either, as it's our year to spend it with Kay's mum, so it made no difference to us, she got really upset, saying that she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said that she wasn't, and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize, because I agreed with everything she said, and so did everyone else there. She ended the call, and I just went back to work. And then today, my dad called me and asked if Kay's mum would mind a few more for Christmas, as he was refusing to spend it with Steve, so he and my granddad needed somewhere else to go. Apparently, after Sarah had called me, she called my mum and started ranting, and my mum had told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which she said no to, and they had an argument. And my dad has now decided that he is done with Steve, even if it affects his relationship with Sarah. He is not having it anymore. My mum wants Sarah there, and she won't go without Steve, so my dad is going somewhere else, and my granddad agreed with him. I text Kay's mum, and she said that they were welcome, so now my mum is furious and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So basically, this has turned into a shit show. Kay has said she will apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace, but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here, and the people in my life all hate Steve that much that Kay could have physically attacked him, and they would all still think that she is in the right. So that's why I'm asking internet strangers, who might have had to deal with difficult family members, what can we do to get into a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. In the comments, What's My Password 73 says, for things to be peaceful, both parties need to want it. Kay did nothing wrong. I wouldn't ever spend another moment with Steve. I would let Sarah know that I love her and will see her anytime, anywhere, but I'll never see Steve again. If you have one guest that basically wants to shit on the holiday table, there is no path forward with them. OP replies, if it was just Sarah upset, then I wouldn't care, but it's my mum. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together, and she's devastated by what's going on. If it wasn't for her, then Sarah could go take a running jump for all I care right now. Joyful Song replies, so your mum is a classic enabler, willing to try to appease a bully at the expense of others. She is just as wrong. I'm sorry that she's being like this, but enablers are a huge reason that bullies get so bad. She also needs to suffer the consequences of her actions and start realizing that she is a huge part of the problem. And OP replies, I've just found out that my mum's parents aren't going now. They're going to my uncle's instead. I just hope that she wakes up soon. Hi04 says, Kay didn't do anything wrong and she shouldn't apologize. I'm shocked that your mum doesn't see it that way, but that's her choice to spend the holidays separately. The relationship your sister is in is unhealthy, and hopefully this will help her see it. When you're right, as you are, you should stand firm. And OP says, thanks, this is how I feel. It's just seeing my mum so upset hurts, as she is such a soft person and hates any type of conflict. On Sarah, OP says, this is the issue. Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I would be happier for her to apologize if Steve and Sarah admitted that what he said was in the wrong as well. Without that, I'm being stubborn about it. My dad told Kay that he will fall out with her if she apologizes, as she did nothing wrong. There was no screaming or shouting, she said it very calmly. I feel like I'm stuck between making my mum happy and doing what I believe to be right. My sister doesn't see anything wrong in what he says, as he's just being honest, but loses it when someone is honest back. I don't understand her anymore. On OP's mum, OP says, take the high road and rise above it have been two of my mum's favorite things to say to us over the years. I just feel like enough is enough. He crossed a line this time that he can't come back from. I especially don't want my son around him when he's saying things like that about Tess. If I hear my mum say take the high road one more time, I'm gonna scream. I'm sick of the high road. I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now. Later that day, OP says, well, I've just found out that my granny and pa, my mum's parents, are going to my uncle's for Christmas and Steve is not invited. So it looks like it's just going to be Mum, Sarah, and Steve for Christmas this year. How OP feels about that? I feel vindicated, as my mum is like her parents. they're all peacekeepers, and if even they've had enough, then it just shows that he's not just stepped over the line, he's ran right past it. On her mum, OP says, Kay's mum has already told her that if she changes her mind, then she is welcome at her house. Even if it's Christmas morning, she is more than welcome. Obviously, Steve and Sarah are not invited at all, but it's good that my mum has the option at least. And upon later reflection, OP says, I've realized that he has been trying to target Kay and my dad's relationship as they are very close. They've traveled all over the country visiting classic car shows together, which Steve has tried to get in on, but he doesn't know anything about cars, so there's no point in him going even if they did like him. I actually think he's been trying to push Kay and I out of the family so that he gets my dad to himself, even though my dad can't stand him. And yeah, I know that was long and convoluted, but it's good to have as much information on these things that you can find. I guess my opinion here is that it's good that OP's mum is also being excluded. I really need her to learn the lesson of not enabling abusers, because it is just as bad as the abuser themselves. Hopefully this is a wake-up call for her, that when her entire tribe stands against her, she realizes that she is in the wrong, and she apologizes and joins her clan once again, because Sarah and her partner are just pieces of shit that deserve to be, excluded from these events. They were given chances time and time again, and they chose to abuse those chances and double down on those things. They are not reasonable people. We do not negotiate with people like that. They are bad for everyone's mental health. So thank you, OP, and everyone around you, OP, for sticking your ground on this. It's amazing when people have really shiny and solid spines that they can enforce their own boundaries and get everyone else to get behind them on that. And now, onto the update. Hi, I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought that I would give you one, as things seem to be sorting themselves out. Kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened in the next couple of hours. The first thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mum's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mum and just constantly try to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mum this year, but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They have made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come see us and Jack on the 23rd before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me, and it outright shocked my mum, as like I said, they are the biggest take the high road type people I've ever met, but even they had had enough. The next thing that happened was that my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they wanted Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit that she was lying and that the family loved Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional, so any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from after-school club with a recorder that I am sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve has been trying to push Kay and I out of the family, organizing trips that he knows we wouldn't be able to go on, but we wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball. And him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we are all together. I think this is because he is jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they are very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mum, Dad, Granddad, and Kay's mum. We decided to cheer my mum up a bit to go on Sunday and then out for dinner after. My mum was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up, then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first, but they settled after a while. At one point, Jack got my mum and dad to take him on the giant snowslide, and as my mum walked back over to us, she had tears in her eyes. I pull her to one side to see what's going on, and she said that whilst waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy that Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mum asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mum tried to say that he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he had argued and said that he learnt in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time, so he was a bad man and that he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mum. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything that Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her that I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack, or Kay through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants. Not what I want, or Dad, or Kay, or Jack, or her parents, or Sarah, or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet and then said that Kay's mum had told her that she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to, and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mum would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later, I saw my mum and Kay's mum having a deep discussion whilst walking behind us. Neither will say what they were talking about, but Mum seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since, as yesterday, my mum told me that she will be coming to Kay's mum's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mum told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that my mum was choosing us over her. My mum told her that she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable all for the sake of Steve and his so-called honesty. Sarah then called me and asked if I was happy that I had won. She then did the unforgivable and used a few homophobic slurs towards me and Kay and called Jack the bastard of a whore. I ended the call, blocked her everywhere, and then let my family know what happened and that I never wanted to speak to her again. They are all as appalled as I am, and my granny, Mum's mum, called Sarah and apparently told her that she was dead to her as she won't have a bigot in her family. Sarah's been trying to reach out to apologize because she knows she has stepped over the unforgivable line, but I've just kept blocking the fake accounts that she is making on Instagram. Steve tried reaching out to my dad after this, and when he eventually answered, Steve tried to say that Sarah was just angry and didn't mean it. According to Mum, Dad ended up giving him a verbal lashing and told him that he was the worst thing that had ever happened to Sarah and our family. My dad has told Sarah that he is disgusted with her, but will be there for her if she leaves Steve, and until then, good luck. Mum has gone low contact as well, but wants to keep the door open so that Sarah isn't completely isolated. I had a few people saying that Steve may be abusive towards Sarah, but I really don't think he is. He usually acts like a dick when the attention isn't on him. He knows that when he says dickish things, then all of the attention is on him and he revels in it. After Sarah's outburst, I just think that they're both toxic and feed off of each other's toxicity. She's let him get away with the things that he says because she gets pleasure out of watching us all bite our tongues and keep quiet. So, Mum's angry, Dad's angry, our 3 grandparents are angry, extended family are angry, and Kay is being my rock. But I can tell that she's really angry about what she said towards Jack. I'm just sad and am done with it all. At least now I know what she really thinks about Jack, Kay, and myself. So there's that. Not the perfect update, but we move on. It'll be nice this Christmas to have both sides of the family together for the first time and not have to worry about Steve being a dick. But I'm sad that this is how my relationship with my sister has ended. I'm trying to get into the Christmas spirit, but it's a tough one right now. The only things that make me smile are Kay and Jack being goofy idiots to cheer me up. However, the recorder can go to hell. I curse whoever invented the thing. Like seriously, screw you. Thanks for all the support in my original post and opening my eyes to a few things. Maybe internet strangers are the way to go for advice after all. Hope you all have a good Christmas and holidays. In the comments, I don't think the dickish brother-in-law and Sarah saga has concluded. I'm glad you'll have a peaceful Christmas, in theory. I just think the pair of them are not convinced yet that they're shut out. And OP says, it wouldn't surprise me if they try and turn up to my parents for Christmas, but we won't be there, so they won't get far. As long as they stay away from me, Kay, and Jack, then I don't care what they do. Another commenter says, may small children playing recorders with more enthusiasm than skill follow Steve everywhere. OP replies, this just made me laugh a little too hard. Thanks for that. Petty Princess says, I like that her son coming home with a recorder was bad enough to qualify being added to the post as a horrible thing happening. I get it, but I'm still amused by it. Honestly, OP is completely valid for that addition. Plastic recorders don't sound great when played by a master. Add in that kids tend to blow too hard, which makes the note sharp. It is the worst. As the saying goes, when you try to get everyone to get along and be agreeable, you give the least agreeable person all the power. People like Steve should never be catered to at the detriment of everyone else. Good riddance to good rubbish, I say. I hope that they are kept away this Christmas season, and I hope that they keep getting kept away. They keep away from you. Those two are disgusting and they deserve each other. There's really not much else to say. Thank you for sharing the story with us, OP. I very much appreciate it, and I wish you nothing but the best going forward. My boyfriend wants me to lie and say that it was me driving my car, when actually it was him who had a single car incident. If it's proven that it's him, he will probably lose his car insurance. I want to help him, but I don't know what to do. Earlier this morning, we were coming back from a party in my car, and my boyfriend was speeding and absolutely plowed into cars parked on the street in front of a donut shop. My car is totaled, and the other two cars probably are as well. The cops showed up in record time, and while we were separated, he told them that it was me who was driving. The donut shop apparently had video and caught the whole thing, and they told him that the video seemed to show him driving, but it wasn't clear, so they would take his word for it. The cops then wrote me 3 tickets for speeding, losing control of a vehicle, and reckless driving. I was so in shock that I didn't even know what to say, and I just signed the tickets. We got an Uber home and got into a huge fight, and I was just exasperated that he would do this to me. He then reminded me that if he took credit for the accident, he would lose his job and his car insurance would be unaffordable, so he couldn't get to work anyways. I said, well, my car is gone, and my rates are going to skyrocket. He promised he would help me buy a new car, and also help with my increased insurance rates. The accident was about 6 hours ago now, and I still haven't called my insurance company to report the accident. Of course, the other 2 people who had cars totaled probably have called. Thus, my insurance probably already thinks that I caused the accident, and are looking to destroy my rates going forward. I'm so angry. I have no idea what to even do. I don't want my boyfriend to lose his job, but I don't want to be screwed because he was driving like an asshole. I would love any advice. In the comments, Giraffe Kickball says, you realize that you committed a crime, right? Post it on r/legal advice and find out what could happen to you. I'm not a lawyer, but I'd love to read their responses. Edited to add, your boyfriend is a piece of shit. A #1 piece of shit. OP says, I realize that, but at least at the moment I want relationship advice about what I should do with him and what he expects me to do for him. Giraffe Kickball then replies, well, I just pointed out that he's a piece of shit. Do you want to be involved with someone like this? Do you want to lose your insurance and commit fraud over something like this? Is it worth it? Likely he was driving drunk. He could have killed you and others on the road. And OP says, I wish this were an easy answer. I know that we're bad for each other sometimes, but I do love him. Dude, he's literally perfect in every other way, except for when he drunk drives with me in there and crashes the car. But otherwise, and the fact that he made me take the fall for it and commit fraud. But he's literally perfect, and I know that we're bad for each other sometimes. Oh my god, OP, no. Macy Mum says, what the hell? No. This is breakup time and call the police and set the record straight time. Why would it be so wrong for his insurance to go up, but it's okay for your insurance to go up? Why would he lose his job? That's not a normal consequence for an accident. Why is it okay to risk having you charged with insurance fraud and becoming uninsurable? He's the one who drove like an asshole, and he should pay the consequences. Also, he's shown you that he has absolutely zero sense of morality or ethical behavior and would not hesitate to harm you in his own self-interest. No, no, no. OP says he would lose his job because part of his work is driving a construction truck for his uncle. He has so many points as is, he'll lose his license and not be able to drive for work. He's on pretty thin ice with his uncle anyways, so this would no doubt push him over the edge into firing him. Babe, he literally risked his livelihood, both your licenses, your likelihood to be prosecuted for a felony, and your lives. Just because he decided to speed and may have been drunk driving, and he had no issue throwing you under the bus and saying, "Oh, it was her." Like, who does that? If those people had been in their cars and had been killed, you would be in custody right now. And now he's sulking because you won't have sex with him? What? Honestly, he doesn't sound like he cares one iota about you. He sounds like a child. Actually, a child would probably have more decency and empathy than this guy. You're over here freaking out over what this means for your life and whether you'll get arrested and whether you'll be able to afford to ever drive a car again, and he's being an asshole, not consoling you, moaning over you not being in the mood, and listening to loud music. And he's made things worse for you and guilted you into taking the blame and committing fraud. Like, if he wanted to keep his license, maybe he could have been a good driver instead of driving like a maniac repeatedly? Do yourself a favor, call a lawyer, go back to the police with them, and set the record straight. You were woken up from sleep by a freaking car crash and were in shock, plus perhaps the video shows which side of the car your boyfriend exited from. Hang on in there. Oh, and last but not least, dump his sorry ass. He doesn't care about you, he's not good for you, he thinks nothing of risking your life. You can do much, much better. And OP says, the video is actually only in front of the store, so I remember very clearly the cop saying that it looked like it could be him, but not enough to go against his word, or something along those lines. We came to a stop about 20 feet on the other side of the store, so I guess that was out of the camera, or the police would have seen who got out first, plus we both had to go out driver door because mine was smashed shut. OP added in the comments, he used to drag race, so he's pulled over a lot and caused a ton of vehicle and property damage. OP on other people involved in the accident. Both really new cars, both couples were older people who were stopping for coffee. Thank God they were not in or around the cars, or they would have been killed. My God, the bar has fallen out of existence, has it not? Why she's with this guy at all boggles my mind. And I don't even know if the sex would be worth it for that amount of just putting your life in danger all the time. Is it really worth it? Drag racer with a huge record of car and property damage. He's already on thin ice with his uncle and you let him drink drive in your car? I don't know about all that, sis. I would be taking the advice of the comments and dumping this right back on him and then dumping him. It's time that we have boundaries. It's time for you to have a spine and to stand up for yourself in this situation, please. And now, onto the update. So basically, at the advice of this thread, I stopped posting and called my mum and dad, who I really hadn't spoken to since I moved in with my boyfriend, and said that I was leaving him. I was scared and begged to be picked up. This was at about 1:30 a.m. They said they'd be over right away. I had to lock myself in the bathroom, and my boyfriend must have heard me making the call because he started trying to beat the door down and I was terrified. When the door didn't go down easy, I could hear him smashing things out in the living room of the apartment and kitchen. I stayed on the phone with my mum while my dad called 911 on his phone. I stayed locked in the bathroom, and he occasionally would try to break the door down again and again. All this time I was crying and so freaking scared, and he was screaming and calling me every name in the book. We have neighbors with kids, and I heard the kids wake up and start crying, and then I'm pretty sure I heard one of the dads beating on our front door, telling the boyfriend to shut up. Cops showed up just before my parents and immediately put him in handcuffs and put him on the couch. They started taking statements from me and the neighbors. I came out of the bathroom, and he looked like a raging, chained-up psychopath. Everything, and I mean everything in our apartment is destroyed. Walls, plates, pictures, TV, Xbox, ironing board, chairs. My clothes were thrown all over the balcony. My makeup was smashed against the wall, and my stuffed animals that I was given as a baby were ripped apart. I have no idea how long it was, but it was crazy he did so much damage in such a short period of time. My dad and my mum showed up, and my mum started bawling because she hadn't seen me in so long. And my dad looked like he wanted to kill my boyfriend, but with the police there, he composed himself really well. We had to stay during the time the police took everyone's statements. It was clear that he was going to be arrested for a ton of stuff. I started telling them what caused all of this, and the story from earlier in the morning, so the officer asked me to get the tickets, and it turns out the officer who wrote the ticket this morning is the guy from the night incident's direct supervisor. So they're going to talk today, and if need be, maybe go back to the donut place and look at the footage. Then the worst thing of all happened. My mum was standing sort of by the door, and as they were taking my boyfriend out in handcuffs, my mum gave him a really nasty look, and he said something like, "If she goes home with you, you'll just have another one who blows their brains out." My older brother committed suicide when he was 17, and I was 10. My mum has never gotten over it, and neither have I, really. And my mum reached out and slapped him as hard as she could. So then the police had no choice but to arrest her as well. They were nice about it and loosely handcuffed her and took her in one of the squad cars. So I got dressed and tried to pack up and salvage whatever I could, while my dad went down to bail out my mum. One of the 3 police officers stayed in the parking lot in his car just in case any of my boyfriend's boys showed up while I got what I could. My mum was in and out pretty quickly and is facing a misdemeanor battery charge, which will probably go nowhere. But as you can imagine, while my parents were very happy to get me, they were extremely pissed at what had transpired not only yesterday, but in the last 6 months or so. I had a very long road ahead to repair the relationship with them. My dad has been mostly silent, but he did take me to the family attorney so he could start working on the stuff from the accident. He said that it shouldn't be too hard to get me out of the tickets, and women, especially, take the fall for the husbands' and boyfriends' accidents way more than you would think. I'll probably still have to show up for court, but by that time, the investigation to show my boyfriend was the one really driving should be concluded, and I will be dismissed. However, the thing that really sucks is that my state is a permissive use state, meaning that my insurance has to cover anyone who is driving my car. There's a good chance that my insurance company will fight it out with his company for overall liability, and it won't be as bad, but I'm still going to take a massive hit on car insurance premiums for a long time. Another good thing is that the lease to the apartment is totally in his name, so I won't be responsible for any damages there. Plus, I didn't do anything to put holes in walls, and I can just walk away from that. This whole thing sucks so much because even after all that happened, and as crazy as he was, I know that I still have feelings for him that I need to get in serious therapy right away to start dealing with. I can't have someone so destructive in my life who was willing to let me take the fall for all of his crap and then scared the life out of me and threatened me. In the comments, FetchDogFetch says, "OP, this is a very common situation. Loser guy with bad driving records are constantly conning meek girlfriends into taking the fall for them. Don't be just another mark to another loser. Reason number 945, why older women are so jaded." OP replies, "That's what my lawyer told me this morning. It happens a lot, and as such, police and courts aren't so surprised when women go back on initial statements when they realize what's at stake." And final comment from OP, "I just left him last night with a long road ahead to repair things with a lot of people." Tiny Sydney says, quote, "My mum reached out and slapped him as hard as she possibly could. Given what was said, I know the cops shouldn't get latitude, but if you're being such a shitbag, you're trying to get a reaction. Just giving someone what they so obviously want shouldn't be a crime sometimes. Zealous Ideal replies, "The way I see it, cops aren't lawyers or judges or a jury. They have zero training in law. I tried to look up how long they receive training in general for, and the first things that came up was that there is no federal minimum. Also a headline saying that they receive less training than plumbers, and a bunch more saying that it's not enough, and going into why. Maybe in this case it feels like anyone could just give her a pass, but it's not up to them to decide if something should be considered a crime or not, and it shouldn't be up to them. That should be left for a courtroom. It sounds like she got a slap on the wrist, which is what should happen, so it's not an issue." Raindog says, "Holy shit, what a great example that the people who love you are never really that far away, even when you've pushed them away. People who have gone low contact or no contact with you probably have conditions where they'd like to reverse the low contact or no contact, and one of the best conditions a parent can hear about is a willingness to walk away from a piece of shit who is leading to a parent's worst fears. Call them." Yeah, and as much as we like to go on about going low contact or no contact, depending on the reason, I can absolutely see why some people would open the door and leave the door open for, ever reconnecting like that. Especially this one being one of those extreme circumstances where you're like, yeah, I know this isn't going to go well for my daughter. I hope that she stays safe, and I'm always going to be here for her when the time is right. It's unfortunate that a lot of people have to learn the hard way not to do stupid things like insurance fraud, but if you don't learn the hard way, I don't think you're going to learn at all. So better now than much later down the track with something even more serious than this. Thank you for the story, OP. I hope all is well in the future and that he stays the hell away from you. Our next post is by user Boring Committee, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for wanting to give up my son after discovering that he isn't mine? I, 32 male, am shattered and I don't know where to turn. My wife passed away last month, only 7 months after giving birth to our son. She developed peripartum cardiomyopathy, a rare and severe form of heart failure that can occur in the months following childbirth. Despite the doctor's best efforts, she didn't survive. Losing her so suddenly has left me heartbroken and in a state of constant grief. 3 weeks ago, my wife's best friend came over to visit. She was visibly nervous and eventually told me that she had something sensitive to share. After some hesitation, she revealed that my wife had confided in her that she had been unfaithful around the time that our son was conceived and that there was a chance that he might not be mine. I was stunned and angry. My wife's best friend was telling me this only weeks after my wife's death, and it felt like an attempt to tarnish her memory. I couldn't believe it. I told her to leave and to not come back, convinced that she was lying or trying to shift blame onto me somehow. The whole thing felt like a betrayal, and I tried to push the thought out of my mind. But once the idea was planted, it wouldn't go away. I kept wondering, what if she was telling the truth? After days of tormenting myself with this possibility, I decided to get a DNA test. It wasn't an easy decision. I felt guilty for even considering it, but I needed closure. Yesterday, the results came back. My worst fears were confirmed. My son isn't biologically mine. Now I'm in turmoil. I loved my wife and I wanted to believe that our son was a piece of her and me together, but knowing he's not biologically mine has left me feeling lost and betrayed. I keep looking at him, trying to feel the same bond, but the pain of my wife's infidelity is so fresh, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to move past it. I feel awful even considering it, but I don't know if I can raise him on my own. The betrayal I feel is overwhelming, and I don't know if I'm capable of giving him the love and care that he deserves. It's breaking my heart, and I feel like a failure, but I also feel like I'm not equipped to give him the life that he deserves. Am I the asshole here? In the comments, I Know Somethings Too says, "Not the asshole. It's not the child's fault. You should tell your wife's family so they can take him. I worry if you raise him that you'll always resent him. I'm so sorry for your loss and for your wife's betrayal. Please get therapy so you can heal. Best of luck, OP. Blue Boost says, not the asshole. Give her parents their grandbaby. Decent Dig says, not the asshole. I'm sorry this has happened. Unfortunately now here's a reminder of betrayal and a reminder that your life with your wife was a lie. It might be best to put him up for adoption or let your wife's family take him. You will never have the bond with him that you would have had if this truth had not been uncovered. OP replies, I haven't told anyone yet about the test. However, I think it'd be best if I do so immediately. Desert Girl says, social worker here. Since OP was married at the time of the wife's death, he is considered the legal father in the eyes of the family court. At this time, DNA has established that he is not the biological father, therefore he will need to have his parental rights terminated to avoid any legal responsibility to the affair child. OP needs to contact a family law attorney and start legal proceedings to identify the biofather and terminate his rights. McMurmel asks, have you thought to call her friend and ask who the father is? That took a lot for her to tell you. She could have never told you if she wanted to. The right thing to do first is attempt to find this guy and inform him. And OP says, I haven't contacted her since that day. However, your suggestion is sound, and I would definitely contact her for his details, if she has any. If your wife's friend doesn't know who the affair partner is, you could also work with a forensic genealogist to find out. Back up to the post, there's an edit. I hadn't thought of contacting the friend, but I will now. The replies have really solidified what I've been feeling. The child is innocent, but I don't think I'd be able to love or care for him as well as I should. Informing the family will be my first step. Then contacting the affair partner if possible. Adoption is going to be my last resort. Many of you believe that I'm a monster, but put yourself in my situation. I hope you all understand. Edit 2. So I called a friend, and I apologized for my behavior, but also asked why she didn't inform me as soon as she knew. She said that her loyalties laid with her friend more than with me. Okay, fine. I asked her what about the affair partner, and she said that she doesn't know as it was a one-time thing. Apparently it happened during her work time, whatever that meant, and during the daytime, as she's been told. I mean, I'm not fully understanding, but it seems like she screwed a guy when she was supposed to be working. Many of you are suggesting that I go through her phone or other social contacts, but I don't know any passwords. I never doubted her. We weren't controlling of each other and had and gave plenty of privacy. The next step is informing the family, both mine and hers. I'm adding another thing. I don't hate the baby, and I'm not so deranged to throw him out of the house. Whatever happens, happens, according to procedure. I'm not going to instantly abandon a kid just because he isn't mine. I know that you're not going to do it, and I understand the position that you're in, but at the same time, I wouldn't blame you if you did either. This is never going to be an easy decision to make either way, but I don't think you're morally obliged to hold on to that child and raise it if you don't want to. Yes, some people might think you're a monster, but at the end of the day, is raising this child yourself going to be the best outcome for that child? And in extension, is it going to be the best outcome for you? Will you truly be happy with that? And will you not grow to resent the child more and more over time? So yeah, I don't know. I think personally, you're not the asshole here for wanting to give your son up, but either way, I won't blame you for your choice. And now, onto the update. Thanks to everyone who reached out with advice and support. I didn't get to respond to every message, but I really appreciate it. After finding out my son isn't biologically mine, I decided to tell both my family and my in-laws. My family was shocked and angry about everything, but they stood by me. My in-laws were also shocked, but didn't believe it at first. They asked to see the DNA test results, and after seeing them, they suggested that we do a second test with both families present, just to be sure. They said that if it confirmed he isn't mine, my late wife's sister, who has a 4-year-old daughter, would adopt him, and I could take my name off the birth certificate if I wanted. I agreed, and we did the test yesterday. Results should come in about a week. Honestly, I'm relieved with how things are playing out. There hasn't been any drama, and everyone has been understanding. I've also talked to a lawyer who said getting my name off the certificate should be straightforward with the test results. Thank you all again for the support, and for those who offered to adopt him. I'm sorry, but your kindness means a lot. I'll update when the final results are in. In the comments, Sanquinoxia says, "Not the asshole. This is heartbreaking knowing the last living piece of your wife's memory is now just a reminder of her betrayal. I don't know. I think knowing she was a scumbag could also make it easier to let go of the idea that a perfect life was ripped from his grip. Like, shitty in the short term, but wouldn't you rather have a dead crappy ex than a dead great one?" Well, when you put it like that, man, it just makes it all the better, right? Not the best outcome, but what can you do? Keen to see this final update. And now, onto the final update. The baby's gone. The results came back 2 days ago. As expected, I'm still not the father. By the time the results came in, I had already packed up most of the baby's things. My mum was staying with me, helping take care of the baby and keeping me sane throughout all of this. This morning, my late wife's parents, sister, and brother-in-law came to pick him up. The handover was smooth, except for a snarky comment from my wife's sister. She said that I seemed too eager to let the baby go. I didn't respond. There was no point, but it stung. Despite that, my in-laws, her parents, were supportive throughout and told me going no contact would be best for everyone involved. I agreed. It's painful, but I think it's the right choice. I hugged them goodbye and they left. They're good people, and I'll miss them. Now the house feels empty. My mum went back today, but will return tomorrow to stay for about a week until things settle. Honestly, I feel relieved. Call me what you want, but I'm finally breathing again. This whole ordeal has been exhausting, but knowing that I can start fresh feels like a weight off my shoulders. As for my wife's belongings, I gave her jewelry to my in-laws. They didn't want anything else except for a few trinkets and pictures, so they told me that I could sell or donate the rest. I haven't decided what to do with it yet, but I'll figure it out. I didn't respond to comments on my last post because the hate was overwhelming and I was exhausted. My DMs were flooded with some of the vilest messages imaginable just because I chose not to raise a child that isn't mine and conceived through infidelity. To those who supported me, thank you. Your words helped me make decisions that I wasn't confident about before, and to those who criticized me, I appreciate the perspective. Even if I didn't agree, it made me think. For now, I'm taking a break from dating and focusing on myself. Maybe I'll buy a bike and get back into riding or hit the gym again. I just need to move forward. I'll be keeping this account for about a week before I delete it. Thanks again to those who took the time to support or challenge me. It's been a hell of a journey. In the comments, Gone Baby Thoughts says, "Wishing you healing and peace and a happy future." Same. OP has so much to mourn. He lost his wife, and then lost her again by learning about her infidelity, then lost his child when he learned it wasn't his. He's lost the support of family, in-laws, and has to get through this. There is no good way around it, only through it. All the best, OP. Be proud of yourself for making a hard decision, as it was the right thing to do for the child. I admire your strength and moving forward in your life, closing this chapter. We aren't promised a smooth path. Just know the possible blessings this child will bring to the family that's now missing one of their own. I'm sure the presence of this child has given them some comfort in her passing. Hats off to you, OP, for doing the right thing, as hard as it was for everyone involved. You made the right call for the baby and for yourself. The baby is in the hands of people who can love it the way that it deserves to be loved, and because of the circumstances of its conception, that wasn't you. Good luck moving forward. Don't listen to the hate. It's easy to pass judgment on someone else and try to act holier than thou. We have no idea how we would actually feel if placed in a situation like that. I'm sure the baby will be well taken care of. Take time for yourself and move forward. Can we point out how effing cowardly it is to hide in the DMs because you're too effing afraid to spew your vitriol where everyone can see? Like, it's the internet. You were already anonymous, so imagine how weak and pathetic you must be to have to hide even more by only spewing your bullshit when no one else can call you out on it. This is why naming and shaming should be allowed. Pull up the receipts, post them and the name, and let everyone see who these people really are. Am I the asshole for slapping my ex's wife? So for some context, me, 32 female, and my ex, 32 male, had our daughter, 16 female, back when we were in high school. We broke up after graduation, but remained friendly for our daughter's sake. Me and my ex are both married and have kids with our new partners. I have one 9-year-old daughter with my husband, and my ex has 3 young ones under the age of 6 with his wife. My daughter alternates between our houses each week, switching every Friday. Every time I get her back, she complains about how her stepmom is really strict and rude. She has my daughter always cleaning most of the house and watching her younger siblings all the time. There was even one instance where she stayed home from school to watch her younger brother who had a stomachache. My ex's wife has never liked me, by the way, since she always thought that it was weird that me and my ex are friends, even though we're only friendly for our daughter's sake. So sometimes I feel like she's hard on my daughter out of spite for me. I never got too upset about it though. I know having 3 young ones can't be easy, and that she just needs my daughter's help around the house a bit. But she takes it too far. She's always telling me that me and my ex were too soft on our daughter growing up, so now she's disrespectful and spoiled. Which, by the way, isn't true. I may not have beaten my kids with belts, but I still disciplined them. They both have grown up to be respectful young ladies, and I'd never gotten a complaint from their teachers. Anyway, my daughter's stepmom gets super upset if my daughter forgets to do just one chore, which she does so much already. She cleans the bathroom, washes the dishes, does laundry, mows the yard, takes out the garbage, etc. On top of all of that, she still has schoolwork to get done. Well, on Thursday, December 12th, my daughter got yelled at by her stepmom for forgetting to do the dishes that night, even though she only forgot to because she was studying for an upcoming test. When my daughter tried to explain herself, my ex jumped in and got mad at her for talking back. They were both yelling at her, and when she tried to speak up for herself, her stepmom slapped her for being disrespectful. Well, yesterday, my daughter drove to my home from school to spend her week with me. She told me about what happened, and she was really upset about it. I was pissed. First of all, I wouldn't even let my husband slap her, so to know that her stepmom did it has me furious. She can do whatever she wants to her children, but she has no right to put her grown hands on my child. So I drove over to their house to confront her stepmom about it. Stepmom got really defensive and ended up getting in my face, talking about how I should have raised her better. My ex took her side, of course, since that's his wife. Me and her said some things back and forth, and after physically trying to push me out of her house, I ended up slapping her and asking her something along the lines of, "How does it feel when you get slapped? You don't like it, do you?" I'm not proud that I acted like this, and I even called my ex today and apologized for making a scene in his home. I even told him that I'd be willing to apologize to her, but he told me that she was adamant on the fact that she was right and she would not be apologizing to our daughter. She's the type to say, "I don't need to explain myself to a child." So I guess that also means she doesn't feel the need to apologize when she's wrong too. I still feel like I should apologize, but I'm not sure if I want to if she won't admit she was wrong. I'm not sure what I should do. I want to remain friendly with my ex, but I'm not sure I can stand her treatment towards my daughter anymore. Edit, to clear things up, I was not upset the whole way driving over there. I knocked on the door and my ex let me in. I was staying calm while trying to talk to them like adults, while the stepmom got in my face about how spoiled and disrespectful my daughter was being. I'm more of a gentle parent, so I don't believe in hitting your child the second they get you mad. She got mad at me and started trying to push me out the door. I got upset at her words and actions and swung. My daughter also isn't spoiled. I make her do chores too, and yes, because she's older, she has more chores than her younger sister. But I am understanding when she forgets, while her stepmom takes it as disrespect. I will take the blame for letting things get this far. I've talked to my ex before about her stepmom needing to be more lenient, and he always remained neutral. My ex and I have been texting back and forth right now, and honestly, stepmom is more mad at my daughter than me since she thinks my daughter ran to me crying. I think we're gonna have her stay an extra week here because I cannot with that hoe right now. Edit 2. I did not apologize for standing up for my kid. I apologized for hitting her in her home where her young children could have seen. I shouldn't have lost my temper like that, but I don't think some of you understand how horrible it is to hear someone badmouth your kid. I don't care what her excuse was about having a bad day, or none of that. She shouldn't have put her grown hands on my child, period. Edit 3. I've never forced my daughter to go to her dad's house. It's always been a routine for her to go to her dad's every other week. Her grandparents got her a car when she passed her driver's test. She has every right to stay here with me or go to her dad's. I do take the blame for not encouraging her to choose though. She was scared to disappoint or hurt her dad by choosing me over him. My daughter is free to choose where she wants to go. Since this whole thing happened, she'll be staying an extra week here, probably, and we'll figure out the rest from there. In the comments, Anna Bahaha says, "Get custody. That's not okay. Isn't daughter at the age where she can just choose not to go to dad's? I hope so, because they're awful. Not the asshole. In most states, children can decide at age 13, not the asshole. They can express their preference. The ultimate decision lies with the judge. Typically, the older the child, the more the judge will lean to granting their preference/wishes, absent it's being determined not to be in the child's best interest. I feel like my stepmom slapped me in the face and I want to stay with my mother is a pretty good argument. Also, my stepmom made me miss school to watch her kid. Also, my stepmom wanted me to neglect studying for a test in order to do more homework on top of list, which I'd already done. Edit, and it was me trying to explain my need to study that led to me getting slapped. Why are you apologizing, OP? Protect and defend your daughter for God's sake. I agree. I don't think OP has any need to apologize in this situation. Like, you can see in front of your face that your daughter is being abused and punished for trying to do what is right for her. Your daughter is not a free babysitting service. You don't pull your daughter out of school so they can look after a child. That's not her job. You've obviously pointed that out. She stood up for herself and she got physically assaulted for it. I'm going to give you the green light for slapping them back because I think they deserved that. You're not the asshole at all, but I think after this, you need to just stop having her go over there and keep her at your place full time. And now, onto the update. I appreciate everyone that responded, and I've read most of the replies, but I couldn't get through all of them. I believe that I was fairly deemed as the asshole, and I take full responsibility for everything I've done. My daughter's stepmom came over this morning and we talked about what happened. She said she understands why I reacted the way I did, since she would do the same for her kids. She said that everything was a misunderstanding and that she only had my daughter doing so many chores, since my ex is always busy at work and she has to chase 3 young ones around the house, so she needs extra help. I apologized for hitting her in her home where her younger children could have seen, especially since I'm a Christian and I need to show that better. But I made it clear that she has no right to slap my daughter, no matter how upset she was. Again, I did not apologize for standing up for my daughter, but for letting my emotions overcloud my judgment. I also added how there needs to be more boundaries in her home when it comes to how they treat my daughter, and how she'll be staying with me a little bit longer until I can trust that they'll treat her equally to their other children. She began to break down and cry about how stressed she's been and how she has postpartum depression. That made me feel more guilty for hitting her. She apologized for taking the discipline of my daughter into her own hands and passively aggressively mentioned how she'll just tell her dad to handle it next time. She wanted to speak to my daughter, but she was still asleep in her room, so I just said that she'll get to speak to her once my daughter is ready to speak to her. My husband is convinced that she is not sorry at all though. She left not too long ago, so I thought that I'd just give everyone this quick update if y'all are still interested. Thanks again everyone. Edits. Me and my husband had a conversation with my daughter when she woke up. I expressed to her that she did nothing wrong and has every right to stay home with us. making sure she knows that everything she feels is valid and that no one has their rights to put their hands on her. She rightfully felt like she didn't want to go back, but she's worried about my ex being upset about it. I explained to her that her father will always be just that, and that she doesn't need to live there for them to still have a relationship. A lot is still going on with his parents finding out about it, and even though I'm worried about what this all means going forward, I'm 100% backing my daughter all the way. Serenity Luna May says, "She isn't sorry, she wants her maid back. Do not send your daughter back. She slapped her once, and I can guarantee nothing will stop her from doing it again. I had postpartum depression and never ever put my hands on anyone. She chose to keep having kids, she can take care of them. Do not be fooled by this lying abuser. Your daughter is not her effing maid. Keep your daughter away from her unless ordered by the courts." Her postpartum is not an excuse for treating your daughter like a housekeeper, nanny, servant, and it sure as hell does not negate the fact that she put her hands on your kid. If she's having problems at her home with no help from her husband, that's her problem that needs to be dealt with before your daughter ever goes back there. Boundaries must be set. As for your daughter, please explain to her that she needs to prioritize her mental health over helping the family that does not prioritize her well-being. Make sure she understands the autonomy of herself and to never feel guilt for prioritizing her own self. Make sure she knows to protect her peace. Edit to add, your ex-husband can kiss his relationship with his daughter goodbye. He's the asshole for putting his daughter in this situation. She's not the help. She is his effing daughter. This update didn't solve anything. As the commenters are pointing out, this is only making the situation worse for keeping the peace with your daughter's abuser? What are you doing? What's wrong with you? Your husband is correct when he said that he's convinced that she's not sorry at all, and you're enabling this. You need to do better as a parent and shut that shit down and get your daughter out of there. Please listen to the comments and recognize that. What the hell? And now, onto the latest update. I don't know if anyone is even still interested in this family drama anymore. Oh, you bet your sweet ass I am. But here's some upsetting texts between me and my ex about the whole situation. He's defending my daughter's stepmom and won't back down, even though she is obviously in the wrong. I don't want to get lawyers involved, but if we can't come to a mutual agreement, then that's going to be the only option. OP says, "If you were standing there, then why didn't you say anything when..." He replies, "She's my wife, Trinity. I walked in and saw her upset. It's only reasonable that I do too. You wouldn't take blank's side if she was talking back to him, ? OP says, "That's not the same. Blank never hit her. Also, doesn't make sense why you let her raise a hand to her." He says, "I just effing said that when I walked in, from what I saw, she was being disrespectful. Blank slapped her even harder to get her to stop talking." OP says, "I don't care. Blank is still a child. Blank shouldn't have hit her, especially if I didn't give the permission to. Discipline her that way." He replies, "She doesn't need your permission. She's my wife. I gave her permission to discipline Blank a long time ago." OP says, "That doesn't include slapping her. I don't care if whatever permissions you gave, I'm her mother." He says, "She's already apologized, so why are you even from me completely?" OP says, "Why would I make her go back when you haven't even solved your own problems with your wife and her anger issues? Blank still wants to visit, just not at your house. Why is that such a problem for you?" And he says, "You're kinda acting like a bitch about this right now." Oh man, I'd show this to a judge and be like, "I'm petitioning for full custody. I don't even want him to have supervised visitation. Look at him defending his abuser wife. Screw this guy, I'm doubling child support." In the comments, Razor Ramon Rain says, "Not getting lawyers involved is a great idea if you absolutely want nothing to change and to not protect your daughter. I get you not wanting to, but it doesn't matter what you want in this situation. It's about what your daughter needs." OP says, "I don't want to get lawyers involved if we can come to a mutual decision that is best for our daughter. It'll be quicker and easier if it's just between our family. Also, having her two parents battling it out in court is not what my daughter needs or wants at the moment. She just wants things to get better without jeopardizing her relationship with her father, which I've made sure to remind her that it doesn't even have to come to that. He's not even upset about her staying here longer. He's upset because he's convinced that I'm trying to keep her away forever, which is what we've been arguing about. Our daughter can see him as much as she wants, she just doesn't want to go over to their house anymore. Yet if this gets out of hand and comes to the point where we need a court-ordered custody agreement, then I will be more than happy to find a lawyer. Cycle Equivalent says, both of you are failing your daughter. Your ex-husband is allowing his wife to mistreat her, and you are doing nothing about it or fighting for full custody. If you let her go back there and don't fight for her, don't be shocked when she grows up to equally resent both of you. Don't fail your daughter, file a CPS report, and a motion for full custody with supervised visits. Your husband has already shown you where his priorities are. OP replies, I understand everyone will have their own opinions on what I should be doing, but I know my daughter and I know my ex. Yes, I did fail by not intervening sooner, but it's not like my daughter always tells me exactly when it happens. I usually don't find out until weeks or months after the fact. Secondly, fighting a custody battle in court is not the first or only option. I had her for 2 years full-time while her dad lived in San Antonio, which he was fine with since he sometimes got her every other weekend or when he could. I already said that I'm addressing everything that happened and that she's going to stay with me for the meantime. I just need to convince my ex that I'm not trying to permanently separate him from his daughter, which is something that she doesn't want either. These texts that I showed were mainly to prove my point on how he keeps siding with his wife. Now, if my daughter wants to cut her dad out completely, then fine, let's go to court. But you guys keep suggesting this as if court will be one and done and an easy thing. I'm not trying to subject my daughter to nothing that she isn't ready for or anything that she doesn't want, and she doesn't want to go in front of a judge and pick mum over dad. My husband and I have explained to her that she's doing nothing wrong if she does choose to do that, but she just wants to spend time with her dad without her stepmom, which is something that we can come to a conclusion with together. Quote, she said that everything was a misunderstanding and she had only had my daughter doing so many chores since my ex is always busy at work and she has to chase 3 young ones around the house, so she needs extra help. How in the world is that your daughter's burden to bear? Your child isn't an indentured servant. What is wrong with you? I feel like OP underreacting and letting her daughter get walked all over by her ex and his wife. Girl, I would have mopped the floor with ex-husband's wife. She thinks she's a gentle parent for not beating her kids with a belt. I think her standards are a bit different from ours, to be honest. Before she edited her post, she did proudly announce how she did spank her children, but when I called her out on it and said that she's just teaching them that violence is acceptable when she's the one who does it, she changed the post and a couple of other details that made her seem less problematic. The post that is up now is not the original post, and I wish I had a copy of that one because it was very different. I got downvoted left and right and told I had no reading comprehension. Yeah, she did edit it. People forget that you can look up their unedited posts. I found the unedited information so quick. Quote, which by the way, isn't true. I may not have beaten my kids with belts, but I still disciplined them, and they both had their fair share of spankings. This is the deleted sentence where she admits to hitting her kids. I'll be real, the more that OP talks and the more OP opens her mouth, the more I despise her as much as I despise her ex and their partner. OP, if you ever see this, if you're hearing this, please get your head out of your ass. You are failing your child. Do not blame your child if they cut you off when they turn 18. Don't blame them, because you will have earned it. You will have earned that child completely distancing themselves from you because you are not doing the right thing. She is 13 years old. She does not have the capacity to know what is best for her in this situation when she has had this normalized for her throughout her entire life. You did fail by not intervening sooner, and you are failing now by not intervening now. The fact that your daughter does not tell you everything that happens exactly when it happens is a failure in your parenting. If you don't find out until weeks or months after she gets abused, that's because she doesn't trust you. You're telling on yourself. You are a bad parent that cannot be trusted because look what happens when she does come to you with this information. You say, well, I'm actually not going to do anything about it because she still wants a relationship with my ex-husband. You should feel ashamed of yourself for not taking this to court straight away and getting custody, full custody. I'm judging you very hard. I don't know why you're not trying to convince your ex that you're trying to permanently separate him from his daughter. That to me just sounds like you're okay with the abuse continuing. So I hope you hear what the community is saying to you and you come back on the side of your daughter for real this time, if you do ever decide to update again. Our next post is by user Weird Earth, and it's titled, "Do I tell my wife the truth after 11 years?" When we first started dating, my girlfriend asked me what my favorite meal was so she could cook it for me for our 1-month anniversary. We were 16, and I told her that my favorite meal was chicken parmesan. She cooked it for me, and from scratch, and it was delicious. However, I realized that what I meant to say was chicken Alfredo. I felt bad that she went out of her way to cook what she thought was my favorite meal, so I didn't correct her or myself. Fast forward to now, we've been together for 11 years, we've been married for 2 years, and once a month or so, she still makes chicken parm for me because she thinks it's my favorite. It's good, but it's really just not my favorite. At this point, it's way too late to tell her the truth, right? What the hell? In the comments, Gorgon Hair Don't Care says, I don't know. If my husband said, my love, I love your chicken parm, but I have a terrible secret. I said the wrong meal that day, and for years I've held on to that because I was touched that you did it. I meant chicken Alfredo. I couldn't hold it in anymore. I would love to try it from you. Yes, he talks like that. What partners you guys got? I would probably laugh my ass off for 20 minutes that he's been stressed by this mistake for so long. Funny stories are the best part of a long life together. Ask her to make chicken Alfredo and hype it up so much and say, I might be reaching, but this might be my new favorite. How did you manage to do that? And just talk about it so much, and then when she asks for what you want for a special dinner, pretend to be stuck between the two, scratch your head and sigh, and say, I really think I want chicken Alfredo. Last time you made it, it was so good, I've been craving it ever since. OP says, this is amazing advice. Thank you. If you think you can pull that maneuver off, then go for it. If not, you'll take it to the grave and chicken parm is your favorite. Proceed with caution. I love that so much. Such a non-issue, but how did you not tell her at all in the last 11 years? Why not the year after be actually, you know what? I miscommunicated, it's my bad. I love this story, but are you so non-confrontational with your now wife that you never could do that? Oh my god, brother. Thank you for that. That's so funny. And now, on to the update. So I'm glad that my travesty brought so many of you joy. I apologize for taking so long to update you all, but I was vexed with a life-altering decision and needed to weigh the responses that I received. I ultimately decided to tell my wife the truth. I'm not sure that I made the right decision after all, because I'm far more embarrassed now than I ever was over this. I have never seen my wife laugh the way that she did that night. Just when I thought that she was done laughing, she would start up all over again. We now have this incredible inside joke for the rest of our lives together. Huge thank you to everyone who commented their advice. In the comments, Gerund Queen says, these sorts of dilemmas are so precious. It's just such a sweet, refreshing breath of fresh air to scroll past all the cheating and abuse stories, to click on someone racked with guilt over accidentally lying to their spouse about something so sweet and innocent. And just the thoughtfulness that comes with that dilemma. If they were less thoughtful, they would never write here and just say, I actually meant chicken Alfredo, but this dude recognizes the care and effort and love that went into his wife's chicken parmesan and didn't want to ruin the sweet gesture with the truth. I think I would take it to the grave, to be honest. Chicken parm is my new favorite now. As you should. Chicken parm is now my favorite too, and I love his wife just as much for laughing at him so much. That's so good. I want to be a fly on the wall for that one. I really want to see how that one went down. But I'll take the update in text because, it's good enough. Thank you, OP. Our next post is by user PrettyYayFlow, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for kicking my fiancé out after joking that he got me pregnant on purpose?" Oh no. I, 23 female, made a post a couple days ago on here talking about a joke my fiancé made at Thanksgiving which concerned me. That post got taken down, and this is a repost and update. I, 23 female, have been with my fiancé, 26 male, for 3 years. We met whilst I was on holiday, and a few weeks after, he followed me on Instagram, and the rest is history. We got engaged last year, and a month later found out I was pregnant. We have a beautiful 6-month-old. We hosted Thanksgiving this year, and my fiancé was drinking quite heavily, and after dinner, me and my mum were talking about the wedding, which my parents are paying for. I overheard my fiancé tell my brother, who was just as drunk as him, that he needed to tie me down and get me pregnant before I realized what a dickhead he was. They laughed it off, but it rubbed me the wrong way because our baby was not planned. I wasn't ready for a child, and we were using condoms, but after a few instances where the condom broke, I decided that it would be safer if I got on birth control. The first month on birth control, I got pregnant. We were told that that could happen, and he said he would pull out to be safe, but I still got pregnant. I was scared as hell, but I personally didn't want to get an abortion. I 100% believe in the right to get an abortion, but I just didn't want one, and so decided to keep the baby. I work for my dad's company, and my fiancé works at a country club, so money wasn't necessarily why I didn't want a baby. I just wanted to do more before I started a family. I spoke to my fiancé about what he said, and at first he said he didn't remember saying it, which was believable because of how drunk he was, but then he said that it was just a joke, and that it was meant as a compliment because I'm so amazing. So I said okay, because we're getting a prenup. I was just joking because I was also wanting to see how he reacted, and he was pissed. He said why the hell would he sign a prenup when we have a baby together, a house together, and that he would not sign one, how he wouldn't need one because we're never separating, and that me mentioning a prenup is insulting and emasculating. Whoa! Guys, is that a red flag? I'm colorblind. Is that one green or what? I never felt threatened or anything like that, but he did make me uncomfortable, and he woke our baby up, so I told him to leave, which he did. The day after I kicked him out, he sent me a long, apologetic message about how it was out of character for him to get loud, which it was. He's never acted like that before, and I replied saying that I appreciate the apology, but I still need a day or two to think everything through. The next day, he sent me a bouquet to the apartment. Sunday, he sent a booking confirmation of a massage he booked for me at the club and offered to come over to watch our son and cook dinner. Tonight, he sent a message saying that I'm being an asshole and that I'm taking a meaningless joke to heart and that he is wasting money that he could be saving for the wedding on the hotel. But now things that went over my head before, I'm starting to think is sus, but breaking up my family over this doesn't seem right. Am I overthinking this or being an asshole? Update. A lot of people were asking for context. When I said I wanted a prenup at the time, I wasn't being serious. Maybe I was being an asshole trying to get a reaction, but based on the 3 years we've been together, I would have never imagined he'd react the way he did. Why did the joke bother me so much? Well, about a year ago, he lost his job. He was never really clear why. For the next 3 or 4 months, he didn't really do much. He said he's trying to figure out what he wanted to do next, and that was the first time that he brought up having kids, indicating that he was ready. We had a candid conversation on my part about how I wanted kids, just not anytime soon. I enjoy my job, I had trips planned, and I wanted to be married first. He agreed with me that we should wait 3 or 4 years. My dad's company got a contract at the club, which is how he got his job there. But during the time that he was out of work, my girls would joke that he's a stay-at-home boyfriend and that I'm the provider and he'd be a stay-at-home dad because I was paying the bills and rent myself, which at the time didn't bother me because I used to live there by myself before we got together, so it wasn't a big deal, but I guess it was them that first made me question. To be honest, I don't know how long the condoms were breaking. A lot of people are saying that they've never had them break, and I can't say I remember it ever happening before. I noticed the first time that it looked like it had split, and then I checked it the next time that was also broken, which is when I decided to get an IUD, which he didn't want me to, but I stood my ground, and we compromised, and I got on the pill. I know that we should have continued using condoms, but he said that he'd ran out, and that I'm on the pill and we don't need them. In hindsight, yes, I should have insisted that we still used them, but I chose not to have that battle, and I thought that we'd be okay. He knew my opinion on abortion and that I wouldn't get one. If I got pregnant, I would raise the baby unless it was for a medical reason. Money-wise, my family is successful. I work for my dad's company, I have 2 trust funds, one of which I got at 18. Before I fell pregnant, I was making plans to start my own house flipping business, but I decided to put that on hold. I still work from home on flexible hours, but he said once we're married he wants me to stop working so that I can focus on our kids and that he'll support us, but I've never really liked that idea, mainly because, although I've never had to worry about money, my parents always taught us the importance of financial stability, and my mum's always said to never be financially dependent on anyone. Plus, my fiancé's current salary, I'm not sure would cover all of our expenses. The only reason why I haven't told my dad is because they have a good relationship, and I don't want to blow everything up over an overreaction on my part. In the comments, Lil Happy Pumpkin 1020 says, "Not the asshole. He's love bombing you. Make a prenup mandatory, along with anger management and couples therapy if you choose to stay with him. Don't add him to any documents. What is yours is yours. Make a trust to your kid's inheritance and have someone other than him be in charge of it. Talk to your dad and see what he says." Obvious Anywhere says, "Love bombing and then throws a tantrum when it doesn't work out how he wants. Great advice to protect yourself and your child. If he's going to be with you forever, then what does a prenup matter?" Courage Clear says, "Yeah, it's pretty obvious that he can't even manage to keep up the love bombing long enough for OP to begin second-guessing herself. Nope. This guy who has never gotten loud turns right around and gets rude when she doesn't forgive him fast enough. This is a very common trait with abusers. They do something sus and then spend a day or 2 love bombing before getting pushy, rude, and manipulative. OP will hate herself later for not seeing how she knew before they even got married that he could get abusive, but for some reason just forgave him and went right on with the wedding. This is the moment he showed her who he is, which means it's action time. And he likely wasn't lying about getting her pregnant on purpose. Guys like this do need to lock their girlfriends down with a baby or a ring, because no sane woman would take a look behind the mask and still want anything to do with them. OP is not the asshole. Yeah, this is not a good situation at all. This guy is not someone to stay with because I believe that he was being serious about that silly little prank of his. And isn't it so funny that when you mention a prenup as a joke, all of a sudden, it's not a joke anymore? Oh my god. Double standards ahoy. I think you need to go get more support from your family, OP, because I'd be jumping ship. And if I were them, I'd be telling you to jump ship yesterday. He's stupid, he's abusive, and he's trying to financially dominate you as well. So don't let that happen. Be better. Not the asshole. And now, on to the update. So I made a post last week about a joke that my fiancé made at Thanksgiving while drunk to everyone who hasn't seen my older post. He joked that he got me pregnant to tie me down and I didn't know what to make of it. So I posted here to get outside opinions. I didn't want to initially talk to my friends or family about it because they're all quite close to him, and I didn't want to make a mountain out of a molehill and cause drifts in their relationships. Yesterday, we had a conversation about where I was at, but he said he couldn't go back to the hotel because they kicked him out for smoking in the room. He stopped smoking while I was pregnant, but he said that I was stressing him out, so he had to stay at the apartment. While I was on the phone to one of my girls in the bedroom, he came in and took the phone off of me and told me to come and eat. While we were eating, he said that he understood what I said and that things need to change for us to move forward, and he then proceeded to list all of the things that I needed to do to make things better. His tone the whole conversation was just making me uneasy. I texted my dad saying that he was making me uncomfortable when he wasn't looking. I went to check on the baby, and when I came back, I saw him take my keys out of my purse, but didn't say anything. He took my silence as agreement to everything he said and went to bed, instead of the couch like we had agreed, like everything was normal. I stayed in the living room, and my dad, bless him, drove 6 hours to come and get us. My dad got to the apartment at around 5 this morning while my fiancé was still sleeping, and we left. My son and I are at my parents' house now. My fiancé has been blowing up my phone this morning since I sent a text to him as we were driving off, saying he wasn't respecting the fact that I needed space and time to just figure everything out, so he could stay in the apartment and I'll stay at my parents'. We haven't officially broken up or called the wedding off. My parents who have paid for it have said that they don't care if I want to call it off, but I feel bad. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who replied to my original post and private messaged me. I didn't think people would care about me. I feel like every option I have is bad. The thought of being a single mum is scary. If my fiancé's behavior gets worse, that would be shit. If we cancel the wedding and cost my parents thousands of dollars, I'll feel guilty. And if we break up altogether, we've just got a house together that we're both on the mortgage, our joint accounts, and I've been with him since I was 19. Being without him for good is also scary. In the comments, Death to All Ants says, he sounds crazy and not the type of person you'd want to spend your life with. Impressive Key says, not the asshole. What he said was really insensitive. Having a woman pregnant on purpose, especially if not planned, and you made it clear that you didn't want, is a serious matter. I believe you can seek legal advice, though I'm no expert, but you're not the asshole. You did the right thing, warm hugs to you, and I hope you figure it out. Hamster Pookie says, it wasn't a joke. It's what he actually did. He just accidentally said it out loud too early because he thought he had her locked down. Kittycat says, do not feel guilty about stuff that can be replaced or remade. Money? Not a problem. Canceling the wedding? Embarrassing for him because you know why you need to leave. He physically ripped the phone away from you, took your keys, and was absolutely being abusive and throwing all the red flags you needed to get your dad to get you out. You and your baby's safety is top priority. If you go back to him, you would then have the right to feel guilty putting you and your child in harm's way. Do not go back to him. Get your father and police to show up at the apartment with you to retrieve your stuff. Go to the court for child support in custody. Do not give him a chance to get more violent and controlling. Please, OP, you only have one life. Do you want this to be your life 20 years down the road? He admitted exactly why he got you pregnant, and you should take it at face value with everything else that he's showing you. He thinks he has you trapped, and you need to prove him wrong. And OP gives a small update in the comments. He took my phone to get me off the call. I didn't expect him to literally come and take it out of my hand. He gave it back when I came out the room. He just did it to get my attention. I left with none of my stuff, only the essentials for my son. I'll have to go back, but my dad said he and my brother will go today. Angel Baby Darling says, he absolutely got OP pregnant on purpose. 2 condoms breaking in short succession is really unusual. When she tried to get an IUD, he refused. He microwaved or otherwise sabotaged her birth control. She's got a trust fund, and his mask first dropped when she mentioned a prenup. He is a gold digger. I'm glad her and her son are with her family. Hopefully they keep the fiancé away from OP. Yeah, it's pretty obvious what has happened here, and thankfully OP has a good community around her that is going to protect her, that is going to get her out of this situation. If I were the dad in that situation, I too would drive 6 hours to make sure my child and my grandchild are safe from an abuser. It's unfortunate that situations like this have to happen, and it's even more unfortunate that it's older men targeting much younger women, but obviously there's not that much of an age gap in this one. But at the same time, It's always older guys targeting younger girls that don't have the experience or the know-how to stand up for themselves. Tale as old as time. That's why it's always good to have a third party to kind of be like, no, that's messed up. Don't allow that to happen. What are you doing? I hope that all continues to go well in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I very much appreciate that. And I'd love to know what you guys have to say about this one down in the comments below. Let me know. Anyway, that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought about it down below, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!